Oh.
Hi, I'm back too.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Good. This is so much fun.
Weren't you the one who said you like the technology part of all of this?
I do, and until it doesn't work.
Until it doesn't work.
So for here's the deal. I use an external USB card called an iMic to connect the mixer to my Mac, and goes into the whatever I'm doing, like Skype or Google Hangouts. My machine isn't recognizing the iMic interface.
Oh,
so
interesting.
Everything was working perfectly in my ears here, listening to the mixer, but none of what I was hearing was going to you guys.
I gotcha.
Which is no good.
Hello.
Oh.
What's the matter?
Better success?
Oh no, I was trying to open the other window, and I thought I'd accidentally closed the Hangouts window. No, it's just me.
That would not be the first time that has happened.
No, to me
or anybody.
Oh, yeah.
I've done it a few times. Like, here, I can go ahead and get rid of some of these windows. Oops, what happened?
Where did I go?
I just shut the Hangout down.
Yes.
Okay.
No, that would not.
Getting horrible upload, but tell Nick, just
chap in India.
Don't care. Who cares?
We're back. Yay.
If you'll answer Nick in the messaging
I got it.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. Appreciate that.
Austin, I propose Danny gets a raise.
Pardon me?
I'm going to talk to management about that.
Yeah.
Austin said, I propose Danny
well,
gets a raise.
I'll send a word to the boss.
Okay.
We'll go ahead and double his pay.
Yes, we can double your pay. Good news.
Fantastic.
Bad news is
double
times 0 is 0.
Yeah, well, now I can afford water out of the tap.
Only the best for you, man. Only the best.
Thank you.
Let me rearrange my screen.
You're so kind. Oh man, this is work. I am so much happier with this setup.
I thought
you were happier because you got your Bloody Mary.
I never did go downstairs. I didn't have enough time.
Go. Yeah, you do. Go.
Yeah, you got plenty of time. Yeah.
And as soon as he leaves, we'll go ahead and start.
That's right.
You'll start talking about me. I can't leave now.
Well, the good news is it's all being recorded, so you can just go back and listen.
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
Actually, speaking of being recorded and listen, I listened back that last episode. I think that was fantastic. When we were over at Ormsby and we were all together. It
was fun.
It was a good time.
That was fun.
Micah says, "I'm glad I got out of bed at 8:30 for this." You're welcome, Micah.
Yes, we're glad you did too, Micah. I'm glad that my dog got up at 3:18 this morning to use the bathroom.
Mine got up at 4:05. So yeah.
And then she whined until 4:10, and then I finally popped her on the head, and she shut up, went back to sleep, and then got back up again at 5.
Mm-hmm. You got up at 5, or the dog got back up at 5?
Both.
Yes.
Because she was whining and had to go outside again. So I was trying to give my wife a break because, oh, never mind. Too much detail. She's usually the one that has to get up and take care of the dog. And so I did it last night. Ugh.
Potable.
Can you hear that?
Yes. Definitely heard that.
Okay, good.
That wasn't a sound effect. That was just
oh, sorry.
Just a just microphone.
Ay. Let's see.
Flight 209er, you're clear for takeoff.
Flight 209er, you're clear for takeoff.
All right, I'll be back in a licky split. I'm going to go make a...
Don't lollygag around.
I'm not going to lollygag.
I use that all the time, lollygag. Going to ask Captain Joe to ask on my podcast Airplane Intel about approaches with GA airplanes around you. Do you have some feedback?
I'll be right back.
Okay. Oh, that Captain Jeff. It's confusing now, Jeff, isn't it?
It's too many Captain Jeffs. But it's funny. I'm changing my name to Captain Jeff. Just because-
Okay, why not? Everybody's Captain Jeff. What was the Spartacus? Was that
Oh no.
what was the name of the
something
guy
else.
that they all said that they were that guy? That's
What,
a
the
cute
commercial?
commercial. Well, the
Yeah.
commercial is spoofing the movie.
Right.
Right? I guess was that a real did that really happen? Is that a historical?
I have no idea.
fact?
I actually don't know the movie.
But anyway, so it came from that movie where they all said, I'm this person, I'm this person. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah, well, this one, mine was horizontal stripes. This one's vertical or whatever.
Yeah.
That's pretty
And
funny.
it's just like, actually, that was a wasn't that a commercial for your competition? I think it was, isn't it?
I think isn't that a credit card commercial?
No, because
I don't
then it's like want to get away.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not a good commercial because I don't know.
Because you can't remember who the
Spartacus. Thank you, Micah.
Okay.
Yes, Spartacus. I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus. And yes, you're Captain Jeff Felmuth. Oh,
Yes.
no, I'm
I'm Captain.
California Jeff. No, I'm California Jeff too. CA for Captain. I don't know. What do we see? CA Jeff? What do we say? Central America Jeff. Yeah. Lollygagging around. Liz, do you ever use that term? Other than right now? Okay, let's see here.
Doctor?
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 How's the volume of that? Too loud?
No, it was all right.
Okay.
1,000. 500.
I believe in on a jet plane. Don't know when I'll be back again.
Oh, I don't have the Trollolo thing. On this soundboard. Where is the Trollolo guy?
It's sad, so sad. It's a sad, sad situation, and it's getting more and more absurd.
Oh, I can't find it.
It's all gone.
What the heck? So I had everything all perfectly set up, sound files all laid out on my iPad. Everything was just going to be perfect.
Yes, that was APG radio.
Let's see here. I don't know where that stuff went. I'm looking.
Well,
Papua New Guinea, where the waves come from.
what?
That's the other show that I did.
Oh yeah. Okay.
He was from Oklahoma, and then he was living in Papua New Guinea for a while. So I did a
Changed it
specialized
to-
version
I
for
see
Papua
that.
New Guinea.
I was like, that's not the original version.
No. How could you tell? Here's the original one.
Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plain, and the waving wheat can sure smell sweet when the wind comes right behind the rain. Oklahoma.
Guy is very excited about Oklahoma, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Aren't we all?
Sure. Oh, hey, Nick.
Hi, everyone. I don't know how good this is going to be. I may need to switch to audio only. How's it looking?
It's all right.
Yeah, you're kind of breaking up a little bit.
Let me just swing down to low bandwidth
Okay.
rate.
I'm your
How's that
captain.
looking?
I'm your captain.
Are you now? Yeah, I won't get into all the nitty gritty, but they've just given me a new free package, which is supposed to be faster, but they say it may take a little while for the new rate to come through. Anyway, I'm here. How's that audio? Because I'll turn the video off if it's...
It's okay. It's okay right now.
Okay, I'm getting about 1.2 up at the moment, which is about
Okay.
as good as it seems to be. And I'm ready to go anytime you guys want.
Okay,
Hi.
I'm still
Hi,
trying to
Steph.
find
Hello.
one more sound effect here.
How
so
is
that
it
I
flying? Oh, I can do that.
There you go. Gonna just keep doing that while we're introducing Dana.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Well, Nick, it was very nice. Thank you.
It was good. Wasn't it? It looked a little cold.
Dave said Nick got a new package. That's more than we need to know.
I wore
Good
the old
one.
package out.
That's very good,
geez.
Dave.
We'll just use that one. It is such a good time to kiss.
Apparently, this new package is 150 megabits per second. Since the moment
Nice.
that's down. Since the moment they only seem to be able to get me 16 down and 1 up, I'm not actually holding my breath.
Well, I think it's going to do just fine for us.
Right.
Okay, so now I'm doing everything completely different than I had planned to do. So let me just make sure my head's on straight.
Look, we got an extra person here with an Acme logo.
Yes, that's the other instance where I can do stuff like
What
when
do
we
you
do
feedback?
audio feedback and when we do plain tales. See that?
All right, that's clever.
Okay.
Oh, you're such a technophobe.
Well,
person. No, not a phobe. That would be anti.
Technophile.
that's right. I'm not afraid of technology. I'm not afraid of technology, damn it.
Yeah, you proved it this morning.
Yeah.
Man.
Okay. Nick's previous package must have been faulty. Well, that's kind of something we don't really want to talk about on today's show.
You did. So don't you start that.
You know what they say as it gets older?
What do they say?
I don't know.
It doesn't work as well.
Oh,
Well, that's only what idiots like that.
Sometimes you need
youngster
to
says.
change your package out every once in a while to make sure it works right.
Yeah. Right.
all right. I think, yeah, we're just going to see how this goes. Might be a little
Sure,
bit
why not?
disoriented, but I think we're going to be.
Good
Oh, wait a
point.
minute. No, I need
Captain
that
Al.
other file.
I'll just
Hang
say it a couple more times. Virgin Media, Virgin Media, Virgin Media.
There you go.
I have the long version of that, so I need to get the shorter version. Hang on, one more thing, just remembered, which was all set up in my other thing.
You got a thing?
Yeah.
I agree, Dave Abbey. They should play that Real Woman of Genius again.
It was good. It was very
That was
good.
very good.
Where is that?
And I ought to. Oh, hang on a sec. I know I'm going to get out the fridge.
Mix down. Sam.
Well, I could go get more grapefruit juice, but I think
Why not?
my breakfast might be here soon, actually. And there should be a
nice.
beverage with breakfast.
Oh, nice. Wish I had that service.
It's been very nice, actually.
All right, where is that? Sam 44 mix down. There we go. And
Hey, there you go. Do you see that, Micah? Say something, Captain Nick.
What?
Oh, no,
So-
he was holding his beer up to the camera, but it was only in the little thumbnail because he wasn't
Oh.
saying anything.
But
But I don't
oh, he's
think
got his
boom sauce.
boom sauce.
Move. Acoust.
What?
It's backwards on my screen.
It is
Oh.
backwards. There you go.
Alrighty.
Move.
What a move is.
Hang on, let's see here.
Vectors.
Wow, that's loud.
Compound switch again. I'm looking at 1726. We're still at center.
Okay. I'll have to
Boom sauce.
that up.
It's better be good after all the traveling that's gone through Paul stuff.
I really shook it up good too, so make sure you let it settle.
They got put in my luggage for the flight home. Wasn't the smoothest of flights.
All right. So look, we were supposed to start at 9, which is only an hour and a half ago.
Yes,
Right
we're
on
not
time.
doing badly, are we?
Oh man. Wow.
Ooh, I think my breakfast is here.
Oh, why? Let's see.
Breakfast.
Breakfast.
I have a liquid breakfast this morning.
Yeah, it looks delicious, actually. Bloody Marys always look so good. And then I'm always so disappointed by the way they taste. Anyway.
This one's actually very good.
Jack Casey, Eagle driver extraordinaire, made me one Christmas morning in Australia
Really?
when we had decided to get up early with the kids to let the wives have a lie-in. And he made me this Bloody Mary that just about blew my socks off. It was very impressive for 0600 in the morning. Jeez, that was good.
All right.
Right, I'm
I'm
going
going to get my breakfast.
Oh, no,
You're
I
gonna
must
what?
be on the
I'm going to get my breakfast, but I'll
Okay.
just be like 2 seconds.
Okay.
So did you decide for the Rosinan or Rosian?
No.
Rosian.
Rosinen. Rosinen
Rosinian.
Bomber. Rosinen Bomber. Bomber.
Rosinian bomba.
I'm not sure how it's going to come out when I'm doing the intro, but let me just, for the record, say Rosinen Bomber. Rosinen Bomber. Raisin Bomber.
Wow.
That'd be the chicken shit way of saying it.
257. We got that. We got that. Let's make sure that we can hear this.
Flight 209, are you clear for takeoff?
I know it's loud on your end, but it's the perfect volume for my recording.
No, I said loud and clear. It's fine
Okay.
for me.
Excellent. Oh,
As
boy.
we say in the aviation world, 5x5.
This is going to be an all-day affair, I think. Nick, were you talking?
I was just putting in a few more Virgin Medias. My internet provider,
Oh,
who has been causing all the problems, and they're going to give me this amazing upgrade and ensure that I never have any more internet problems. Yeah, like my nose. Can you see my nose growing?
I remember I had Sprint when the first mobile phone service that I had, and half the time the calls would drop. So I'd call and try to fix the whole problem, and they said, "Well, we'll give you some more minutes." And I'm going, well, I don't use the minutes you already give me. How's that going to help me?
I want you to fix the problem that I'm asking about, not one that
We're
I
going to
don't
give you
have.
45 minutes extra of talk time. And so, yeah, but if I only get 20 minutes of that, then what good is that?
Exactly.
All right. Yeah, 5-hour APG with the delay. You're right, David. Enjoy. You're welcome. Okay, here we go. It's 2:57. You ready? I got recorders
Ready.
recording.
Yep.
Okay. Oops. No, I have to say 2:57. Airline Pilot Guy, episode 257.
Flight 209, are you clear for takeoff? LA 123.9.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy show, the view from our side of the cockpit door. I'm Captain Jeff, your host, broadcasting live from Studio 1A in the APG headquarters building in Roswell, Georgia. In today's episode, incapacitated pilots, cosmic rays, the woes of SAM 44, more news, your feedback, and a new Plain Tales episode, the Rosinenbomber. So get all settled in, tray tables and seatbacks in their upright and locked positions, electronic devices powered on. Flight 257 is ready for pushback. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy show. I'm Captain Jeff, a captain for a major U.S. legacy carrier, and joining me today from South Carolina is a doctor, commercial instrument-rated pilot, Dr. Steph.
Well, hello, good morning. And what's so funny? You're chuckling a little bit there.
Yeah, I'll talk about that in a second.
Okay, all right. Well, good to be back for episode, what is this, 257?
257.
257. So looking forward to a great show today, and good to see you as always.
Good to see you as well. And also joining us from across the pond, southwest of London, we have an Airbus captain for a major European carrier. His name, Captain Nick.
Hello there. Hi there, Jeff. You were giggling there a minute ago. Why was that, old chap?
I don't know. Somebody was tinkering with my intro script again.
Not again.
And I thought that I was all the way through it without a problem until the last two words of my script. And then I had to really think about what it is I normally say. I was ready for... It's not plush seating. Which is
I'll catch you out one day. Hi, everybody. It's Captain Nick here with a long story of internet connection problems, which I will bore you with shortly. In the meantime, let's get on with the show. It's been a great build-up, and now we're finally here. Let's hope I can stay connected for the next hour or two. Looking forward.
We're certainly hoping so. And good to see you and hear you. Also joining us from across town, not too far from where I am, in, what would we call that, Smyrna?
Smyrna,
yeah. Smyrna, Georgia. We have First Officer Dana, First Officer for a major U.S. legacy carrier. Also,
well, hey, good morning to everybody. I'm glad we finally get this situated, and I don't think I have a whole lot more to say because I've already said a lot this morning.
All right, well, thanks everybody for hanging out.
Goodbye.
Yeah, so what they're alluding to is the fact that we actually started this whole thing about an hour and 41 minutes ago, and at least we tried to, and I was experiencing major technical issues with my computer and mixer and such, and then also Captain Nick has been experiencing connection problems, and we finally...
And I was feeling terrible because I thought I was going to be late.
Yeah, so stuff was still flying when we were trying to start, and turns out that she got back in plenty of time. So, and then poor Dana has been entertaining the chat room for an hour and a half while we tried to work out all of our problems, but anyway, we finally got it all straightened out, I hope, and here we are for flight 257, and let's see, what was it, about a little over a week ago, last Saturday, we did our live recording at the Ormsby's Tavern, and that was a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoyed the show. I know we had a great time recording it, and what has happened since then? Captain Nick, did you have a nice flight back to Blighty?
Well, it was nice that it got me home, but no, it wasn't the best of flights. You guys managed to arrange to have a huge storm front hit Atlanta just as we were trying to depart, and the engineer kept saying, "This doesn't look good out here. I'm waiting for the twisters to hit," or whatever you guys call those those whirling dervishes that come out of the sky and scoop up little girls wearing red shoes and carry them away to strange worlds. No, it was really miserable. It was hosing it down, really heavy storm clouds, really angry looking skies, lots of undulations in the clouds, microbursts being reported by air traffic, wind shear everywhere. Just as before we pushed, they changed the runway. The wind was mainly from the south, so you got east-west runways there mainly. So it's obviously slightly favoring one. It was right on our crosswind limits. They've changed runways on us 3 times, so we taxied for one end and then had to taxi back for the other end, having had a change just before we taxied. So it was a bit of a nightmare getting out and then weaving our way between all the storm clouds to climb up to our cruise altitude. And then, of course, we were facing some pretty murky conditions at London Heathrow. And going across the Atlantic, we were pulling up the ATIS for Heathrow, and it was giving a visibility of 50 meters. I was going, hang on a minute. Our Cat 3B limit 75 meters. We're not even going to be able to make an attempt at an approach here. I don't know what it is. I'm going to have to ask some of my trackers, because that 50-meter stayed in the 80s for quite a while. But when they started reporting RBRs from the different zones of the runway, they were in the 100 and 200-meter marks. So that was obviously a lot better. And we just did a bit of a sit in the hold and then a Cat 3B landing in Heathrow. And so it all went reasonably well by the time we finally got there. But it was a busy trip with lots of extra briefing items for wind shear recovery on takeoff, and visibility approaches that always require a little bit more attention, and covering of all those pitfalls, a little more threat analysis to make sure we did the trip safely. So it was nice to get home and have some time off, and then I promptly went down with some kind of a bug, so I've been feeling horrible for the last week. But starting to perk up again. At least I can stomach some alcohol now, and I have with me the famous boom sauce.
Oh, yay.
Oh, yay. Micah's famous boom sauce, which you got for all of us, and I'm just cracking it now. And I'm going to have a sip. And I know Micah's in the chat room, so let's have a think. Oh, that's got quite a taste to it, isn't it? Oh my God.
I can tell he likes it.
He loves it.
Well,
I think I really enjoyed
come
that.
a long way, and has. It says from the Lord Hobo Brewing Company. Hobo, isn't that another name for a down and out in America?
Yeah.
Actually, it's got licorice flavors to it. Am I?
I'm trying to remember now. I think it did a little bit.
Yeah, a little licoricey. And,
I really liked it. I thought it was a little on the fruity side.
Yeah, it is unusually
but
fruity. It tastes
but not
also like
overly
a dark beer. I can't peer in the can and see whether it's dark or not. What do you reckon?
No, it's not very dark.
Okay, well, there you
It's
go.
an
Much
IPA.
better in the glasses, Micah. Well, I wanted to show you the can, so that you knew I got it. And it travels well. It seemed to be drinkable, so thank you very much indeed.
And I want Larry in Boston to know that the books were handed out to the appropriate folks. So
Yes.
thanks again for the used books.
Thank you. Very
they
much
were-
looking forward to reading that.
Yeah. Excellent. So, Steph, we know that you were flying this morning, but what else have you been doing this week?
Well, much like Captain Nick, I had to make my way home from Atlanta last weekend too. And granted, I didn't have nearly as far to go. Driving into Atlanta was not a lot of fun. Once I crossed the Georgia line, it poured rain, it was windy and poured rain. And, there was a lot of standing water on the roads. Drove up to Asheville that night and actually had a very pleasant drive up to Asheville. It was not raining, but I think I tried to hit the road back to Charlotte around the same time Nick was trying to leave from Atlanta, and drove right through all the same mess that he was trying to get out of. And it wasn't very fun driving in it either. It was definitely nasty, heavy downpours, a lot of wind. But I mean, just went slow, took our time, and no problem. got back safe and sound. So spent the whole week working. I was supposed to go flying on Thursday, but we've actually had fairly decently gusty winds here in the afternoon in Charlotte this whole week. It was actually very warm on Wednesday and Thursday. I got home on Thursday and sat out on the dock in my backyard. It was like 75 degrees. Felt like summer, or at least late spring. And then didn't go flying that day. Thought about going flying yesterday. And again, it was kind of gusty and windy in the afternoon. I said, you know what? I have a better idea. Let's get up really early on Sunday morning and go flying for an hour, because it won't be windy. It'll be nice. We'll see a nice sunrise. Hopefully the weather's supposed to be beautiful. The problem is I'm just not very good at getting out of bed very quickly first thing in the morning. You'd think I would be. I managed to make it to work on time every day, but this wasn't quite the same as having to go to work. So
it's Sunday morning stuff.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. So, we probably left the house. I took my dad with me. We left about 15 minutes later than we meant to. Got there. It was cold last night. It was less than 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 0 Celsius. So they want you to warm up the plane before you do anything with it. So that took a little bit of time.
What, do you have to sit and rub the outside or something?
Warm it up.
Yeah, a little bit of friction. No, they have their own, call it a proprietary heating device for the engine.
What, a bonfire?
Kinda. Yeah, we'll just say it involves. Huh?
I was going to say they de-ice the air.
I still didn't hear you.
I said they use the broom to de-ice the aircraft. Use the not de-ice necessarily, anti-frost.
Mechanical anti-frost. Yeah. No, unfortunately there was no frost. Yeah. There was no frost on the aircraft. So that was good. But it was chilly, and using their heater to try and warm up the engine before we left. It actually took a little bit of time because it's a little bit finicky, and the pilot light doesn't like to stay lit on the heater. So that took a little bit of extra time. So when all was said and done, sunrise was at 7:24. I wanted to be off the ground at 7 o'clock. As we were leaving, the sun was rising, so that tells you what time we actually took off. Because I had planned to be back by 8 o'clock, so I could be back well in time for 9 o'clock. Didn't land until it was like 8:50, I think, when we got back to the Rock Hill Airport here in upstate South Carolina, just south of Charlotte. But it was actually a very nice morning for flying. I'm glad we went out. It was nice and smooth, and really pretty flight over some countryside. So, and then, like I said, I was feeling bad about getting back here and being late, but as it turns out, I had plenty of time.
Yes. We just did that whole thing was just so that you would have time.
That's right.
To get back from flying and join us.
It was all for me.
We didn't want to start without you. So not really. Dana, what have you been up to? Been flying a bit?
Yep. I went out this past week. Very nice 4-day trip. Started off crappy because of that same weather that Nick was talking about. Ended up getting into the overnight about an hour late and went to sleep about 2 o'clock in the morning. And then I had the distinct pleasure of having somebody knocking on the wall or doing something at about 5 in the morning. So, didn't get a whole lot of sleep because once I wake up, that's it. And the whole trip kind of went like that. But I flew with a great guy. Turns out that we have a lot in common, and that makes the trip a whole lot nicer. We both like to scuba dive. We talked extensively about all the scuba diving adventures and trips and places to go, and shared photographs, and enjoyed that conversation for a good part of the trip. And then we also discovered we both like to ride Harleys. So we talked a lot about riding up into the North Carolina mountains, North Georgia mountains, Tennessee mountains. And, here in the stateside, we're very fortunate because we have some really good roads with really good conditions in the south and through the mountains. Unlike the northeast, it gets beat up with really bad weather. The west gets really hot. So we have some really nice conditions, and we talked all about that for the rest of the time. And so it's nice when you find with somebody that you have a lot in common with. It brings up a lot of conversation. Great guy to fly with, and then got back, and I haven't stopped going since I got back on Thursday afternoon. And this morning, woke up at 6:30 this morning, and actually 5:30 this morning, and started paying bills and getting all that stuff done. Started getting up ready for the show, and I've kind of been the show this entire morning. up until this point. I'm relieved. It's been fun, but certainly like the interaction a whole lot better. So it's great to be invited back, and I enjoy being with the group.
And you did a fine job of entertaining everyone. That's what was going on when I finally got here and joined in. So
Yes,
it was
Absolutely.
yes, a little bit of relief, but it was fun. I enjoyed it. I mean, seriously, it's fun for me.
Excellent.
Well, Dana, your video is starting to kind of break up a little bit for me anyway, and your audio as well. But not sure you can do anything about that, but just thought I'd let you know.
How was I with everybody else? Because when you were talking before, you're breaking up too for me. So I don't know whether it's me or you. No,
it might be my bandwidth here. Who knows? Oh well.
it seemed okay.
I've turned off my video just to make sure my audio comes through because I've had complaints from the audience.
Yeah, you were kind of getting hard to hear toward the end of your spiel.
Okay.
Let's see. Last Sunday, a week ago.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm not to interrupt you, Jeff, but I wonder if the sun's having a little bit of a display out there in space right now, because that, some electrical interference from the sun could be causing a lot of this today.
I don't know. I have the tin foil on the roof of my house, so that should be protecting us.
I'm wearing some on my head now.
Are you? Okay, the tinfoil hat.
Dana's mentioned that. Yeah, my tin hat.
Let's see. So last Sunday, there was what was going on that day? Something to do with sports in the United States of America. Oh, I remember the playoff games, and Dana is wearing a shirt. If you're watching the video, yeah, it says, "This pilot loves the Patriots." The Patriots won their game against the Steelers, and the Atlanta Falcons, yay, won against the Green Bay Packers. So it's going to be Dana's Patriots against the Atlanta Falcons next weekend for the Super Bowl. So forward to that. It's been a while since Atlanta has been in a Super Bowl. What, 17 years?
Yeah, it should be a good game.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. Anyway, so I just thought I'd mention that. This week I've been flying a bit, and we've been having fun kind of communicating with our chat room folks, perpetual chat room, and kind of tracking flights, like tracking Nick's flight, tracking my flights, and such. So we were having some fun with that. In fact, when I was talking on the radio, I knew that some of you were listening, and I slipped in an Acme a couple of times in the call sign. So we were having some fun. So thought I'd mention that. Looked like Captain Al was having some kind of a contest. They were trying to figure out exactly what exact moment he was going to block in from his flight back from Tenerife. And so we're having a great time between shows. That's my whole point, I guess. Anyway.
We have to come up with some prizes for that, because I don't think we ever... Did he ever say what the prize was for whoever won?
I don't know. I don't think I saw it. If you did,
prizeless.
Yeah, it's just for the satisfaction of just saying that you won the contest, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff,
anyway, yes.
Before you move on, I just want to show you. I actually forgot to mention I was in Houston this week for the Super Bowl setup, and I was able to buy the shirt.
And what does it say? Super Bowl
51.
Lee.
No.
What is that? 51?
51.
Awesome.
Yep. So
excellent.
I digress. I just want to get that in there.
Okay.
Continue.
Thanks for wasting our time. We appreciate it. No, I'm just kidding.
What are you saying?
Nothing. Let's see. I guess we should move on then. Anything else to talk about before we do? Because I didn't put any notes down for anything. So,
nope.
Perhaps we can talk about the coffee fund.
Oh, I was going to say the books.
Yeah.
Did we get all those right, or did you get all those right?
I think so. Yes.
Oh,
when I opened up the package and I guessed to whom each book went, Larry told me that I got 100%.
Okay. I just wanted to thank you again, because I've had to leaf through mine when I got home, and it looks like they're going to be a great read. So I'll enjoy that, I'm sure.
Excellent. And even though you don't have your video on, it's still skosh. But we're picking up. We're understanding what you're saying, but just barely. So,
Virgin
right.
Media, I hate you.
And with that, let's move on to the coffee fund. Just as soon as I can find the soundboard. Where did it go? There it is.
Johnny, how much more coffee?
No thanks.
I love coffee, I love tea, I love the Java Jive and it loves me. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup. All right, the Coffee Fund. That's the Ink Spots, recorded in 1940, singing the Java Jive. They're serenading us to the Coffee Fund. You can become part of the Coffee Fund cadre if you'd like to support us financially. And since the last program, we've had 3 that have contributed via the Coffee Fund Classic method. And they are Tony Stubbings, Steve Trumbell, and Sagebrush Air. That's all I have there. I don't know who Sagebrush Air is, but thank you very much for your contributions. And no new patrons since the last program, which is okay. That's another way you can contribute to the show if you'd like. Again, we always say that if you're in a situation where you need your money to pay for like rent and food and clothing and flying lessons and other important things like that, please don't give us any money. We'll do fine without it. And money is better spent renting an airplane and flying than it is giving it to us. But if you have anything left over and you enjoy the show, you find value and entertainment in the show, please consider contributing or becoming a patron. And all that information is available at airlinepilotguy.com/coffee.
Yeah. I love Java, sweet and hot.
Stand by for news.
All right. So last weekend was a big weekend here in the States, the inauguration of our new president and the kind of the transfer of power. And our previous president, Barack Obama, left the Oval Office and headed over to Andrews Joint Base, or whatever they call that airport now. Andrews, I call it Andrews Air Force Base, aboard an airplane, a 747 that looks a lot like Air Force One. It actually is the same airplane, but since he was no longer the acting president, it was no longer Air Force One, but Special Air Mission 44, SAM 44. And 44, of course, because Obama is our 44th president. And he headed off out of Washington, D.C. with his family, heading to Palm Springs. And he was going to go on a vacation in Palm Springs. And so while everything, all the festivities and balls and all that kind of stuff were happening in the nation's capital, Barack Obama and many others with him were trying to land at Palm Springs Airport in California. And they had a little trouble because the weather there was not very favorable. And if you're familiar with Palm Springs Airport, it lies within a valley and surrounded by quite high terrain, and so it's kind of a tricky place to fly into. Now the runway is plenty long. Or of course, there's a displaced threshold, but there's about approximately, depending on which way you're landing, 8,000 feet of runway or so. It's a 10,000 foot long runway, but they have displaced thresholds on either end, which effectively for landing makes it a little bit shorter. And anyway, apparently the equipment aboard the airplane that is referred to as Air Force One, and in this case SAM 44, is not very sophisticated, because they don't have, like Dana and my airplane, doesn't have the ability to fly RNAV approaches. And so because of that, when they were coming into Palm Springs, and by the way, if you look at this, I put some of the pages of the Palm Springs Airport in the Evernote notes, and they talk about weather at Palm Springs, and less than 1% of the time they have instrument meteorological conditions. So it just so happened that on this day, taking the former president to Palm Springs, the weather dropped down to instrument meteorological conditions. And so I have some audio. It's quite long, so I'm not sure if I'm going to play the whole thing, but kind of give you an idea of what is. I was mentioning they don't have the capability to fly an RNAV approach, and because of that, they had to fly a VOR circling approach. And circling approaches, especially this one, have kind of high minimums. Minimum descent altitude is about, let me see, let me scroll back down again, 2,300, something like that. Let me see.
Yeah, that's it.
Is that it?
D would be 2,300 and 3 miles visibility.
Okay. And then I think the elevation of the field is about 400 feet. So the effective height above touchdown, or not height above touchdown, but at the MDA is what? About 2,000 feet?
1,823 feet.
There you go. So they need to have a ceiling, a cloud base, at least just slightly above that, so if they have a chance to spot the airport and continue to a landing. So let's play a little bit of the audio from liveatc.net.
For Vector Sam 44.
Palm Springs again.
I'm looking at 1726. We're still at center. I just wonder how the winds are at the field there and your visibility.
The 1726 currently have on the aircraft Boeing 737 Alaska on a 2-mile final, but the last arrival approximately 5 minutes ago had 4 miles visibility and light cage on moderate turbulence.
Okay, we checked the marks, and any breaking action reports on the runway with the weather?
No breaking action reports, and the winds are 270 at 6. And with the porous runway, there's no water on the runway itself, just spray.
You're using 31 left?
Affirmative.
Thanks, we'll talk to you at the handoff.
Alaska 554, we saw the field breakout about 1,800 feet.
Palm Springs Airport information, Echo now current, wind 300 at 7, altimeter 29047, visibility 4 miles with rain and mist, the field of DFR.
44 Heavy, just had an arrival inbound on Palm Springs, reported breaking out at 1,800 feet on final.
9 altimeter 2940, VOR Bravo approach in use. The 554 left turn at Kilo and taxi Whiskey Bravo to the gate, monitor ground on 121.9. Again, just monitor ground on 0.9.
Springs ground, say again.
And 44 Heavy, that is approved, and reaching thermal, proceed inbound on the approach, and just let me know when you're established.
Turn to thermal will report established inbound SAM 44.
Your turn in holding is approved for SAM 44 Heavy.
44.
For 786, you can expect light to moderate turbulence on the departure.
For 786.
3 Delta Bravo, descend and maintain at 4,000.
Flight 4, Christian 54 Alpha, SoCal advises approximately another 5 minutes. View Flight 54 Alpha, wind calm. Expect a light cage and moderate turbulence in the climb out, runway 31 left, cleared for takeoff.
Takeoff 31 left, BMW 54 Alpha.
44 Heavy, descend and maintain 6,000.
6,000, SAM 44. SAM 44 established and holding at thermal.
44 Heavy, thank you.
44 request further descent.
44 Heavy, descend and maintain 5,000.
Descend and maintain 5,000, SAM 44.
Palm Springs ground, RF-153.
RF-153, Palm Springs ground.
We have all 3 RF units out here on the airfield. We have 1 RF unit currently located at Whiskey in approximately Lima. We also have another RF unit 151 staged at Whiskey and Golf, and I'll get back to you where 153 is going to be staged.
I guess they're setting up the air rescue firefighting equipment. I think that's the protocol when they have a high, what would you call it? High visibility or a very, very important person.
Yes, VIP.
VIP. Yeah. So let's continue.
Roger that.
Current winds, please.
Current winds are 340 at 5.
Sam 44, heavy contact, Palm Springs Tower around 119.7. You have a good day.
Okay, there.
4, switching to tower, good day.
Going in on the approach.
Parker 88 Hotel, not sure exactly what the bases are. Last report was 1,800 feet. The heavy 747 in front of you just went around. They're doing the published miss. So for now, contact Palm Springs Tower 119.7. Have a good day.
Right over the field, we saw the field, but prior to that, there were probably bases about 1,700 or 1,800.
And 44 heavy, roger, contact SoCal departure 126.7.
And that's only about 3.5 minutes of almost 19 minutes. I'm making the decision here not to play the whole thing. But what I'll do is I'll have the edited, cut out a lot of stuff. It was about a half an hour long, but got it down to about 19 minutes. If you want to listen to the entire edited audio, you can. But basically, they came in for the VOR circling approach, and then they had to...
If it don't coming down, don't wait until your sideways baby sliding on the ground. You can always
go round.
So catchy.
Yeah, it is. That somebody, I don't know, it was on Facebook or
I've seen it on multiple places now.
Twitter or whatever. Yeah. There's a YouTube video out there with this with this music in the background, and it's very catchy. And I thought, oh, that's got to be another sound clip for the APG. You can always go around, and it turns out the guy that's singing, the group that's singing that song, the guy that leads it is an airline pilot himself and musician. And we hear the ice cubes clinking in Dana's glass. I hope you're enjoying your drink, sir.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's nice. It's the ambiance. Anyway,
that's some burping. Jeff, I thought was quite amusing. Was it King Air going into that airfield and landing about 2/3 of the way down and then careering off the end onto the beach?
Oh, in the Caribbean? I know which one you're talking about. That's some old footage, right?
Yeah,
I guess. The one that I saw was just a bunch of like super high crosswind landing attempts and go-arounds. Maybe I just didn't watch the whole thing. But anyway, whoever alerted me to that video, thank you. Anyway, going back to this SAM 44 thing, special air mission. Even the most important flights out there sometimes just can't get to where they're trying to go, their destination, and that's why we have destination alternates. And so they made that attempt, that circling approach attempt. They went back out and they held for a while, tried it again. I think the second time they attempted the approach, they decided they would come in on that same circling approach, but circle around to the north of the runway and try to land in the opposite direction. That didn't work either. They had to go around another time, and then finally they heard the reports that the weather was continuing to get worse and the ceilings were getting lower and lower, and they made the decision to divert to March Air Reserve Base. And there was another airplane as well. I believe it was a Hawker that apparently didn't have the RNAV equipment either. And they were limited to the VOR circling approach, and they went to Ontario. But everybody that did go into Palm Springs that had RNAV, RNP approach capability, they were able to get down a little bit lower, I think, to just below 1,000 feet. And they were able to see everything they needed to see, and they landed.
Yep. Well, because the flight before got in and landed. That's why they were able to report the ceilings.
Right.
The Alaska Air.
And you look at this approach, and you can see that when you come down and you're at that minimum descent altitude, you have to be able to spot that airport runway in enough time to continue a normal glide path down to the runway. And apparently, when people were finally getting a glimpse of the airport, they were just too high to continue a stabilized approach down to the runway. But have you looked at some of these charts? It's pretty scary looking at that terrain that's rising all around it.
Yeah, you get down to that minimum descent altitude of what was it again?
2,300.
2,300 feet. Yeah, and you've got terrain right next to you that's 10,000 feet. So you're right in the middle of that high terrain on either side in the valley.
Yeah.
Hey, anyway, say this shit, but I'm not seeing on APG 257. I'm not seeing that link.
Oh, really?
What link?
Yeah, I'll never know.
It's in the news. Do you have access to the news?
Yeah,
folder?
we're on the news.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
I was looking at the
never mind.
Okay.
Yeah, so on this show, we do the news at the beginning, and then we move to the feedback folder after that.
Sorry.
Ba-doom, bam.
Bada bing, bada boom. See ya.
Oh, by the way, folks, for some reason, apparently the link that I have linked in the on the website live page is linking to the initial hangout, and apparently the address changed. The current hangout that we're on, I don't know how that happened actually, but looks like some people are having trouble finding us. I'm seeing some tweets that people are going, "What's going on? Is it over?" So let's see. People that are in the current chat room, how did you find us?
Well, there was a new tweet. Didn't you put a new tweet out?
Yeah.
You put it on the Captain Jeff Twitter. Did you put it on APG?
How can we make sure? I'll tell you what. I'll do another tweet, and with the current. Let me make sure that I have the current address. Sorry about this, but we really never ended the hangout on air. I'm wondering why the address changed.
No, we did have to end it. Remember?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, that's
we
right.
did. We
okay,
sure did.
That's why the address is different now. Okay, my bad. That's right. Let's try this again. So let me update the website with that, just in case somebody is trying to get there via that route. If it isn't one thing, it's another.
And a push notification, maybe?
Yeah, I want to do that too. Okay, got that. Update. Show not coming up on. Poor Phil out there is trying to join us. I think that's Phil. I just saw a tweet. Dun dun. Okay. Just tweeted current live stream link. I'll put that in the Avgeek Podcasts BFS as well. And there we go.
Good, I'm back.
Yay.
I didn't know you were gone.
Didn't it go quiet?
I knew you were gone, Nick.
Yeah, Steph cares.
I do.
Well, she has
Hey, Nick,
not quite as many things going on than I have.
Hey, Nick, your package isn't good enough.
No, I know. I'm just waiting for it to kick in.
Yeah. Technology.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm getting a new satellite dish tomorrow. because apparently my satellite dish isn't capable of receiving all the channels anymore.
Oh,
because it's
why not?
old.
Oh,
it was. When I moved into this house, there was already a DirecTV satellite dish here, and it was in the perfect location and pointing in the right place, so we didn't replace it when we hooked up my account. But apparently, it's just old. So.
Okay. So that should have helped get everybody to our chat room and live stream. Comes up on the Twitter feed, Plainfill5. Plainfill5.
No, he should have it. Why doesn't
it comes up on
That's an
Twitter
issue.
feed, but will not go full screen and hence no chat.
Well, you have to open it in a new window.
Open in new. No.
It's usually like control click or command click or. I know what he means.
Oh, so the Twitter client that I'm using, it doesn't show. All it shows is the link. But what you're seeing is like the whole, like a little.
It will actually open it in Twitter, just with the video, and you can see the video there, but it's not the whole YouTube page. You can't get to the chat.
Can you just copy that link and then open up a new window in your browser?
Yeah, usually I just do like control click or whatever the
Okay.
Windows equivalent is, and it'll open in a new tab or a new window.
Okay. All right, so hopefully everybody will get that sorted out. I think I have the website updated with the new link as well. So, by the way, in our exchange this past week regarding flight tracking, a popular one is Flight Radar 24, Flight Aware, and this new one that I hadn't heard of before, and maybe we've talked about it before, but I've never gone there, ADS-B Exchange. And turns out that I learned, and so did Pip, learn an interesting thing. Folks that have their data blocked on all the other sites, apparently ADS-B Exchange, or ADS-B Exchange, that's it, doesn't block anything. People see military flights and Air Force One and all kinds of things on that, which I think is quite interesting. Okay. Let's see here. So are we all on the same page now?
I think so.
Yeah.
We're all in the news folder.
Yes. Yeah, the news folder and SAM 44. Okay. Anything else we want to say about SAM 44?
No, I'm just surprised they haven't got a better tech on board what is effectively Air Force One.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised too, but it is an old airplane, and I guess probably 99% of the time they don't need anything fancier than what they have. But I would imagine the new Air Force One
that's going to be a Airbus A380, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm sure of it.
Yeah. Well,
my own comment.
Mr. Trump doesn't seem to like Boeing anymore. So
no, I'm just trying to save some money. But I can guarantee you it will not be an Airbus.
Well, the only comment I can make on that is think of this. I mean, how often do we really in the real world, and we fly all the time, actually shoot a VOR or an NDB approach?
Very rarely.
Very rarely. So you got to think, how are those guys handling it? I mean, I'm sure have really good training. However, they don't do it very often either.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
two left at JFK all the damn time.
Well, I can't even tell you last time I shot a VOR on non-precision approach. It's been eons.
I wish someone would tell JFK that it's not a good idea.
I think they just do that for the foreign carriers.
They just roll it. It's just for you, Nick. Like
probably, yeah.
Captain Nick is coming in today.
Everyone else is
the
getting nice ILS on the 3-1 right, and we want you to veer on a 2-2 left.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. Great. Let's continue, shall we? A Flybe de Havilland -8 400, or what do we call those things? Q400s. operated, well, I just said Flybe, from Exeter, UK to Dublin, Ireland, with 33 passengers and 4 crew. This was back in April of last year. Was about to reach the top of descent into Dublin when the first officer, who was pilot monitoring, indicated he was feeling unwell and requested to leave the cockpit for a toilet break. The captain requested that the lead flight attendant come to the cockpit and remain in the cockpit while the first officer was absent. So he made the call, and then he switched off the seatbelt, or he switched the fasten seatbelt light on. And when the captain felt the aircraft unexpectedly yaw to the left and roll to 18 degrees of bank. The captain disconnected the autopilot, returned the wings level, and retarded engine power to ensure a stable descent, then began to investigate what had caused the upset. The suspicion was that there was some kind of a problem with the rudder system. However, when the captain was trying to discuss this with the first officer, realized that the first officer wasn't acknowledging anything, and turns out that the first officer had passed out. And so they were able to move the seat back and administer oxygen to the first officer, and he recovered about 5 minutes after the first symptoms, but thereafter did not participate in the operation of the aircraft for the remainder of the flight. And apparently this is a final report regarding this incident where the AAIU in Ireland said the co-pilot was probably under some stress on the morning of the flight, considering that his young child had a hospital appointment the following day. Stress and lack of quality sleep may have been factors in his feeling unwell and incapacitation during the flight. There was another article here talking about the, let's see, I think it was the Pilots Union. Was it the British Airline Pilots Association, Nick? I don't remember.
That is the main pilots union here. Yes.
Okay.
But
they basically, lauded the aircrew handling of the situation, and they got some kind of award and that kind of thing. I thought it was interesting though. The ITV.com reported this, and they said the crew of a flight had been praised after the co-pilot blacked out on board, causing the plane to roll just before it landed. I thought, wait a minute. I don't think so. I think I just read the report and it said it was just at the top of descent. So
Same
I guess,
thing.
Yeah, obviously for journalists, that's the same thing as right before it landed. Anyway, so job well done, captain and cabin crew, for making sure that the co-pilot was, situated properly for the remainder of the flight. And another interesting thing here in the report says that the co-pilot went to the hospital. They monitored his vitals, etc. Lost consciousness because of a sudden drop in blood pressure. And at the time of the writing, the co-pilot had not yet returned to flying duties with the operator. That's quite some time. I wonder if there's something else going on.
Either that or they haven't been. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, if it's unexplained, they're going to want to find a good cause before they're then back into a cockpit.
Yeah, exactly. If they don't have a good reason for why he passed out or fainted beyond, I mean, they give a reason in the report, but that's probably just their best guess at this point in time. They didn't find any reason, but until they know for sure that it's not something that's going to happen again, they're probably not going to let him go fly, which is unfortunate. But
yeah,
I think every country and every medical agency has a different time limit on that. But I would guess it could be anywhere as long as 6 months or longer.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So
we had a captain who had a few unexplained headaches, severe headaches, bordering migraines. He was off for years because no one could work out why. So they just said, well, until we get to the bottom of this, you can't fly. And for heaven's sake, poor chap.
So is he still out?
No, he eventually, he went sufficiently long period without having one, and they let him back in the cockpit.
Excellent.
I think he's probably as or with co-pilot. You have that category in the States?
What is that? You're kind of breaking up a little bit.
Okay. Okay. When you're flying multi-crew, you can have a thing on your medical saying that you can only fly as or with a co-pilot.
Oh, I'm not sure. Do you know anything about that, Dana?
I don't think so. I haven't. I mean, I don't know. Really, I've never heard of that. But what I was going to chime in with is that it's situations like that, and have a headache and report it. That excuse me. That leads to situations where people just don't want to report things. Pilots have a tendency of trying to hide some things that could be a major issue, and also could be a minor issue, but don't want to go out on medical for years or months or whatever for unknown causes of if you report a headache or report sleep apnea. I know a buddy of mine 3 years was out of work because of sleep apnea. So I think I mentioned that last week.
Mm-hmm.
So I think pilots tend to try to hide things. So who knows? And all leading into with this gentleman, we don't know what really is going on, and unfortunately, he is going to probably lose his medical for some time until they do figure out what's going on.
Right. Very interesting. Well, anyway, again, good job on that Flybe crew for getting everybody safe and sound on the ground, and our best wishes for the first officer. Hopefully, he'll be able to return to flying soon. This one got my attention. NASA fears cosmic rays from outer space will damage plane passengers' brains. And I put in here, it's even worse for air crews. Cosmic rays could harm passengers and crews during flights, NASA's warned. Humans are mostly protected from cosmic rays on planet Earth, but traveling at high altitudes is an entirely different matter. In a chilling statement, who wrote this? The Sun. Okay. In a chilling statement, NASA wrote, just above you, high-energy particles called cosmic rays are zooming in from outer space. These speedy particles crash wildly into molecules in the atmosphere, causing a chain reaction of particle decays. While we are largely protected from this radiation on the ground, up in the thin atmosphere of the stratosphere, these particles can affect humans and electronics alike. To study the effects of these cosmic rays, the space agency sent a giant helium-filled balloon into the stratosphere to measure cosmic radiation coming from the sun and interstellar space. And they found that because of their time spent in the Earth's upper atmosphere, air crews are exposed to nearly double the radiation levels of us ground dwellers. So I think we're all aware of the fact that when we're flying around at higher altitudes that we're not being shielded from all the kind of nasty radiation that we are normally shielded from, and that's one of the many risks and that we undertake as air crew members, and also those of you out there who do a lot of flying, for you frequent flyers as well.
Well, I've offered before, and the offer still stands. If you ever want to take my lead apron and lead glasses to go flying,
I might take you up.
It weighs about 13 pounds. The whole
Wow.
thing. But I have to wear it at work.
Wasn't there an article not too long ago? I think we may have talked about it on the show, we may have not. I can't remember, but that we're actually classified as radiation workers because we have higher exposure to radiation than even people that work in a nuclear power plant.
Yeah, I think Nick
X-ray
said
machines.
something about that, didn't you,
Yeah.
Nick?
Yeah, well, in the UK, definitely are. So, they have radiation monitors on a number of our aircraft, and they can extract the average radiation doses you get on a flight, and then they track all the crews and work out which flights they were on and apply that average radiation dose to work out what their annual exposure is, and then they switch us around if the crews are getting close to the legal limit for exposure, because they've been on a lot of close to polar routes, a lot of northerly routes, and they'll switch them around on more southerly routes for a while to give them a break.
Interesting. I don't think that we have anything like that at our company, do we, Dana? I mean, I've never heard of anything like that.
No, they don't care.
Well, I don't think the Mad Dog goes high enough, does it?
No, not for us, but I mean for even the people that are doing the international routes. I don't think we have a system like that. We should, but I don't think we do.
No, it wasn't it Nick was mentioning, I think it was Lufthansa that actually have their crew members wear some type of radiation detection, and if they get too high of exposure, they pull them offline.
I have one of those too. You guys can take mine and I'll turn it in its next regular time, and all of a sudden it'll be like, a huge spike, and then I can just report back to you that no, you are getting exposed to radiation.
Oh boy. So Nick, you have a note here at the bottom of this. You want to talk about that?
Well, yes, I was just looking a little bit into cosmic rays, and obviously they can cause us a problem, but they can also cause the aircraft electrics a problem. And there have been certainly postulated that the particles can be large enough to interrupt the electrical flow in circuit boards, and they believe that it may have been linked to an incident of an Airbus A330 where they had unexplained control inputs to the aircraft that caused one particular aircraft to enter relatively sharply enter a descent twice during a flight. And they actually found that the base problem, that was the ADIRU, the Air Data and Inertial Reference Unit, and they had modified the software. But they don't know what caused the initial problem with the ADIRU. So they still think it might be possible that it was cosmic rays that gave the data spikes in that system that was then interpreted by the flight control system, which caused those descents. And the flight laws have now been changed, or at least the fly-by-wire system has been changed so that it shouldn't happen again. So, but it is interesting that it might affect your phones, it might affect your computers, and that's how they're concerned, how much they're concerned about these cosmic rays.
Interestingly, they had a microphone on the giant helium-filled balloon, collecting all this cosmic radiation data, and they were able to. This is what cosmic rays sound like. Isn't that cool?
I've heard that before.
Have you?
It sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah, vaguely.
I didn't realize it was a cosmic.
That's the sound of a cosmic ray coming in.
So
I think they slowed it down a little bit and enhanced the sound so we can get a better idea of exactly.
It comes from dying stars, doesn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah, I believe so.
That sounds good to me. I'm not an astronomer.
Astronomer.
Yeah, no.
No, let's not go there.
Okay, and finally, some good news. In a gesture of love, Alaska pilot to donate kidney to a flight attendant. And the article says, this is from the Alaska Air blog. There are the normal things coworkers do, to show caring for each other, covering a shift when there's a family emergency, delivering soup to a colleague with a cold, bringing in treats to celebrate a special occasion. And then there is undergoing major surgery to have a kidney removed to be transplanted into a coworker to save her life. That is what Anchorage-based Captain Jody Harskemp is doing for flight attendant Jenny Stansel, also of Anchorage. And so apparently this flight attendant has had issues with her kidneys and kidney disease, and has undergone 7 surgeries and several visits to emergency rooms and long-term hospital stays, and having to endure 10 hours of dialysis each night. Yikes.
Yeah.
And so they put out a call to see if there were any donors out there that might be a match. And the pilot, Jody Harskemp, was one of the first to be tested, and it turns out that she was a perfect match. Both had blood type O positive, and so she is going to go through with this major surgery, which they say is similar to a cesarean section. And the pilot will be out of commission for 8 to 12 weeks, and then living the rest of her life with one kidney and the possibility that her health would not recover enough to pass the stringent health standards required of pilots. That is love, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Very selfless.
Yeah, that's a major sacrifice.
Very much so.
We'll put a link to this full article in the show notes if you want to read more about it and learn more about organ donation and such. So I thank you, Liz, for pointing that story out to us. Good old Liz in the chat room. All right. I guess that ends our news segment. Not really anything big that I could see in the news happening this week, which is good. And
we like it that way.
Yes,
we do.
Absolutely.
And now for the best part of our show.
Captain, incoming message.
Sir Nev from Nev Tech Industries sent us this, well, not too long ago, a couple weeks ago. And he said, hello, APG crew. I wondered whether you would like to cover this topic. EFB, or electronic flight book? No, bag. Electronic flight bag. Here's a report from January 2017 which is this month, of an EasyJet A319 taking off from Malaga to Liverpool with the incorrect data loaded in the EFB software. Might make for some interesting discussion as everyone seems to be going paperless. And he sent us a link to this report by the Air Accident Investigation Branch. And as he said, it was an Airbus A319. And the synopsis of this, while calculating takeoff performance data, the flight crew elected to use the multiple runway computation, or MRC, function on their electronic flight bag. Due to a software anomaly in the EFB, runway information for runway 31 was displayed alongside takeoff performance data for runway 13. The flight crew did not notice this during cross-checking and subsequently took off from runway 31 using takeoff performance figures for runway 13. The manufacturer of both the aircraft and the EFB, the operator and flight crew were unaware of this anomaly at the time of this serious incident. The operator has since disabled this function, and the manufacturer has communicated this anomaly to all affected operators of this version of the electronic flight bag. And so apparently, I don't know, do you all use this kind of system, Nick, when you are computing takeoff performance data? Do you use actually
not
your...
at the moment,
Okay.
Jeff. So,
Yeah, we don't either.
Yeah, well, it's only because it hasn't been activated and we don't have the software on our EFBs yet. So we're still using a rather older-fashioned way of using our ACARs to send off our data, and we get a printout back from a provider of performance figures who is somewhere in Sweden, I think. But that's the system we use at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, we're at Acme, we don't use this system either. Everything is kind of centralized load planning, and all our performance data is computed remotely and then sent to us via ACARs on board the aircraft. Now, many of our airplanes are more modern than the one that Dana and I fly, and they actually upload the ACARS performance data automatically to the flight management system. And then I think once the pilots have reviewed the data and ensured that it's correct, then they execute, and the data is automatically transferred. On the old Mad Dog, we have to actually input all of the data. It's not a big deal. It takes maybe, what, 5 minutes or so to do it, maybe even less.
Yeah,
if you're
probably
quick at typing.
I've seen Captain Al's version of the software that he has on his iPad, and having put in the initial aircraft weights and fuel, all that kind of stuff at the beginning of the flight, his system automatically calculates all the performance figures for him. So I don't know if it's the same software as this one was, but he certainly has the similar sort of stuff. I don't know if he's got any comment. He's in the chat room.
Yeah. So I guess.
I mean,
yes.
I was just gonna say I could see where that would be confusing, especially for similarly. I mean, runway 31 and 13 are obviously reciprocals of each other, but happens also with 20 and 02. So if you have those data side by side, if you're just reading through it, that's something that your brain can not interpret properly. You know, if you're looking for those numbers 1 and 3 or 3 and 1 and they're there, even if they're switched, you have to pay extra special attention to make sure you're looking at the correct.
Another example would be 04 and 40. Oh wait.
If you can take off on runway 40.
Yeah, neat trick, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was going to say 10 out of 9 pilots are dyslexic, you know.
That's true. Anyway, you were going to say some more, Nick?
Nope.
Okay. So, interesting. We'll put the whole report in the show notes. Yes, Miss Steph? Oh, I thought you were saying something as well. I'm just hearing things, I guess.
I wasn't saying anything.
Okay.
I just had a reply from Al in the chat room. He says, very similar, Nick, except he mentions EasyJet, not his outfit, but they use the OPC version. His outfit, they called Crown Monarch. No, something else.
Royal Jet.
Royal Jet.
Royal, that's it. You have multiple runway counts disabled to avoid this scenario. There you go.
There you go. Well, thank you, Nev, for making us aware of that incident. And just, one more thing to watch out for. I guess, attention to detail is very important in this line of work, as it is in many others as well. Just quickly, we mentioned this last week, and I told Short that I'd go ahead and play this again until the actual event, but he has some audio feedback for us regarding a future meetup.
Hi everyone. After a very successful APG PTUK meetup at the Amsterdam Schiphol Airport in August last year, and an equally successful Omega Tau meetup in Amsterdam in November, we thought it was a good idea to get the group together again. And this time it will be a podcast listener meetup for the Airline Pilot Guy, for Plane Talking UK, and for the Plane Safety Podcast. It will be at the Aviodroom Aviation Museum in the Netherlands. It will be in Lelystad. Lelystad is very centrally located in the Netherlands, and it is easily accessible by train and then by bus. Also, the museum is located next to the Lelystad Airport, which is Echo Hotel Lima Echo, so fly-ins are an option. The date will be Saturday, February the 18th. So if you are living in the Netherlands or in Belgium or Germany or anywhere else and you have a means of traveling to Lelystad, please join. If you're joining, please let us know so we can arrange traveling to Lelystad and to the museum together. You can contact me on Twitter. My handle is @SjoerdBakker, and that is Sierra Juliet Oscar Echo Romeo Tango Bravo Alpha Kilo Kilo Echo Romeo. Bye for now and see you in Lelystad.
Okay, there you go. Short. Hopefully we'll have a bunch of folks able to join up with you in the Netherlands for that meetup in February. Looks like Nick just dropped again. He's having a heck of a time with this.
He's having a hard time today. Well, you talked about it earlier, the radiation. That's what I was alluding to earlier, is that I think, they're probably getting some interference, especially from being a higher latitude. They might be.
That could be.
Yeah, it could be. So
could be that darn.
It's all conspiracy.
Blame those cosmic rays.
George Jetson.
They're starting to hit me. I can hear them. Let's see. Lucas sent in some feedback. This was back earlier this month, and so let's hear what he has to talk about.
Hi, APG crew. This is the Flying Kiwi, Lucas, down in New Zealand. Wishing you a very happy Christmas and Happy New Year. Very Merry Christmas, even. Hope you had a good break. I had an awesome break, which was full of flying. It was lots of fun. I got to fly a Rand's Coyote, if any of you guys know what that is. It's sort of a microlight thing. It's actually faster than a 172, which was amazing, and I really enjoyed that. 2 hours from a friendly farmer who let me fly it all throughout the Southern Alps. It was absolutely amazing. I also got to fly 172 and another Tomahawk, this time at a different Aero Club, and had to do a couple of check rides to do that, which was terrible. One of the questions I wanted to pose actually is have you guys ever had an instructor who's quite a nervous instructor, and when you're getting near the ground or you're doing something, or maybe your banking was a bit steeper than they would like, they instantly jump on the controls and all you're feeling is their force inputs, and this is what this guy was doing, and I'm sure he didn't mean to do it, but you know, I'm a pilot. I've got my ticket. I've got 300 and something hours. I wasn't doing anything dangerous, well, I didn't think so. And he was always jumping on the controls, and it made it quite difficult for me to understand what was going on. I'm just wondering if you guys have ever had an instructor that was a little bit nervy, perhaps, or a little bit keen to jump on the controls and follow you through. It's suffice to say, I passed my check ride and I could take some passengers out, which was great. So went down and had a look at some of the earthquake damage in Kaikoura, because we had a really big earthquake here a couple of months ago. Just wanted to make a comment on one thing you said about logbook padding and logbook falsification. In the private world, you can absolutely do it. If you wanted to, you could probably get away with it. It would be a very quick check of the aircraft's tech log. You have to fill out a tech log here in New Zealand, or if you went through a school, their financial records, and they could tell whether you had that flight on that day and how long you took, if they really wanted to do it. You're only cheating yourself by padding your tech log, or padding your logbook, sorry. It's a bad thing to do, especially if you're padding it for hours, because you're not being honest with yourself, and you're not being honest with who is flying with you, and that can make it dangerous. I know of someone who has falsified a logbook, and I will not tell anybody who that is. And he did that for reasons of currency. He didn't do his 3 bumps in 3 months, as we have to do here, and made up an entry to show he was current in that type of aircraft, which I told him was quite naughty at the time. So yeah, it happens. It's hard to detect, but you know, if they want to do, if you have an accident, for example, I'm sure the CAA here in New Zealand would pretty quickly come to the conclusion that you didn't have the same hours as you have in your logbook. And finally, to keep this nice and short, I love the fact that you guys at the APG are grown men and grown women, professional pilots, professional airline pilots, ex-military. You're a medical doctor, Steph, but you guys still laugh at fart noises. That is hilarious. I laugh at fart noises too, so I can relate. But it just makes me laugh. I've just been listening to the latest installment of the APG podcast, and the fart noises every time Captain Nick mentioned A330 was hilarious, and I was drinking coffee at the time and I went all over my keyboard, so thanks for that. But well done, guys. You have a great podcast. Keep the blue side up, tailwinds, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Oh, P.S. Glenn, we're in Wellington. Let's hook up. Let's go for a flight, go for a beer. Cheers, mate. I'll see you later. Bye-bye. Flying Kiwi out.
Yeah.
Yes, we can laugh at those noises.
Not at all.
It's just because we know that we can't take ourselves too seriously. We can't take most of the things in life too seriously. You know.
Right.
You have to call that a heart attack.
Exactly.
Hey, he talked about, thank you, Flying Kiwi. We're going to actually hear a couple more pieces of feedback from him later in the show. Actually, I might just go ahead and play them after we discuss some of what he just talked about here on his present feedback. Instructors on controls, or kind of being a little overreactive or premature with their actions and protective. Yeah. You ever flown with anybody like that stuff?
Yep. And I agree. It's not, I mean, you can understand why they're doing it, and it's generally only happened with instructors who are very new. Fortunately, not very frequently. The only time I can really think of, I was getting checked out in an aircraft at a different FBO from the one that I was usually flying at. So I only had to fly with this instructor just to get checked out in the aircraft. And he was pretty touchy on the controls the entire time. I was like, I know I've never flown this particular plane before, but I'm a certificated pilot. I have a decent number of hours. You know, if I'm not doing something that you think is safe or you're not comfortable with, please tell me what it is so I know, you know, what you're trying to get at. I agree with you there. If you don't know why they're doing that all the time, you don't know what their thought process is. But I know why they do it. It's because they don't have the familiarity and comfortability to be able to just relax and watch what's going on. And I think that's something that changes and evolves as they become more proficient and more experienced. So not necessarily anything wrong with it, but you just have to know your instructor and know how they work. And if you're okay with how they do things, then that can be a good working relationship. And if you're not, then maybe it's time to look for a different instructor. So
when I was in the Air Force, Jeff, we used to always stay. This is when I was a student learning to fly. We used to say that night flying was almost exactly the same as day flying, except the controls were considerably stiffer.
So that just kind of reminds me of something that happens very rarely, but it does occasionally happen when I'm hand flying the airplane and I'm, you know, activating the rudder pedals a little bit. Sometimes I'll actually feel like the person, you know, my co-pilot is actually on the controls with me, with like his feet on the rudder pedals. And I always think that's just weird. You know, when I'm not flying, I don't have my feet on the control, you know, on the rudder pedals and such. And I don't know, maybe that's normal. I don't know.
We had a guy fail his line check for that, Jeff.
For actually being on the controls with the other person?
And not being on the control.
Not. Okay, yeah. So your policy is that you should be.
Exactly. I mean, particularly on the rudder, because, you know, if you get an engine failure and the guy beside you isn't controlling the situation adequately, then, you know, you need to be on the controls to be able to do something about it.
Interesting. Okay.
And in particular, I think specifically it was during the takeoff run. And it may be different for us in that if we do a rejected takeoff, the captain takes control. I don't know if you do that. So you can't really take control and do anything unless your feet are on the rudder pedals. If you have an engine failure, you can't stop the swing. You can't really do much until you get onto them. And then, you know, it's a little bit later down the runway.
Well, that's interesting. What's your experience, Dana?
Yeah, I was going to chime in on that because I am still an active flight instructor. And I think a lot of it is inexperience and lack of confidence. And I think a flight instructor, if they're doing that, they're doing a huge disservice to the students. Because if you, and very much like in the medical field, in order for you to learn or anything, I mean, in order to learn how to use a computer or learn how to use a lawnmower, you've got to do it. And until you actually go through the motions of doing it, if somebody's preventing you from doing that, then they're doing you a huge disservice. They're there. A flight instructor really should be there to teach you and be there really to prevent you from hurting yourself, not to be, I mean, it's okay to be ready on the controls, very much like what Captain Nick was just talking about. Being ready on the controls is different than taking control. And if you're a good flight instructor, what you do is you talk your student through, and unless the student is going to, and this is how I brief my captains. Nobody laughed on that. I brief my captains.
I was waiting for the captains to laugh on it first before I laughed on it.
I briefed all the time.
I get briefed all my first houses.
Yeah, well, I jokingly say, if you're going to kill me, I'll knock you out and we'll talk about it later. But no, in all seriousness, you just have to be on the ready, on the go, and listen. A good flight instructor is going to be a flight instructor that's encouraging, that is there to monitor and help you to learn. And by learning is, you get the 4 processes that they talk about with the FAA. And I can't remember proceed, process, perform. I forget what the other P is. But anyways, that's what a good instructor is supposed to do. And if they're touching the controls all the time, then if it's to monitor you, that's okay. But if they're trying to control the airplane, that's really a very big disservice, in my opinion.
I agree. I think you're right, though. Usually an instructor that maybe isn't very confident with their own skills, or perhaps they're not comfortable. I don't know. When you're new, I think that you have a tendency to do that kind of thing. And then the more you do it, the more you relax and let the student make mistakes and that kind of thing. But anyway, padding logbooks. He made some good points regarding that. And I think we've discussed that enough. More to say, Steph, about that?
Nope, I don't have anything more to add to what he said,
Okay.
other than what I said.
I'm still amazed you guys don't have a proper logbook for each aircraft, even if it is privately owned. I mean, how do you keep a record of the hours between servicing, the legal requirements for inspections, and proper records of faults and their corrections? Isn't that all in the aircraft tech log? Isn't that a legal requirement? And isn't that part of keeping a proper record of an airframe? I'm amazed that doesn't happen in the States.
Well, you can have all that from the hobs and the tack time, but if it's your own privately owned aircraft, I don't know too many people who are, they're logging it in their personal logbook, but I don't think they're logging each flight in the aircraft logbook.
Yeah, that's what I find amazing, because yeah, okay. So, do you guys have your rules? We obviously have different ones.
Yep.
It's the Wild West out here, Nick.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, it's just a car with wings, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
I was looking for the other feedback that Lucas sent.
It doesn't have his name on it, but it's isn't it the one about APG wearing nothing?
I got it. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Here we go. Here's some more feedback from the Flying Kiwi.
Hey, APG crew. This is the Flying Kiwi, Lucas, down in New Zealand. Just leaving some quick feedback on episode 256. In New Zealand, it's actually compulsory to do an ICAO English test, even if you're born in New Zealand, because apparently we do speak English down here. So it's a flight to a approved centre where you have to call up an automated service on a telephone and repeat back a whole bunch of clearances said in lots of different foreign languages. Well, lots of different foreign accents, but in English. It's tedious, boring, and pointless. There was a tale of a crop dusting pilot who shall remain nameless, who left so many expletives he had to go and do the test again because he thought it was quite pointless and told them so throughout the duration of the phone call. Systems failures. I had a small, what I thought was an alternator failure. I was actually with my mom somewhere on the way to Kaikoura. I noticed in this digital cockpit, so it's not steam driven, it was digital but not glass, that one of the digital gauges was reading a huge drain on the voltmeter. And I thought, oh, here we go, alternator failure. And I thought, I could get to Kaikoura. They probably wouldn't have a charging facility, no battery. So I thought, I'll return to base. So I got back, proudly marched into the office saying, I had an alternator failure. The plane's gone tech, blah, blah, blah. And the guy said, actually, that instrument's been reading bad for a long time. And, didn't you notice the alt light wasn't on? And of course, I didn't. You're looking at one instrument, you're not looking at both instruments. So I felt a bit stupid. And then I thought, no, wait a minute. I marched out of the tech log. And of course, there was nothing in the tech log. And no one had told me before I'd booked the aircraft out. So kind of felt a little vindicated. Credits. That's the other thing I want to talk about, credits. It's really nice that you read our names out at the show and we get some appreciation for the money we put in. For me, it's not necessary because I really enjoy the show, and I'm quite happy to contribute whatever money I can. In fact, I was at a barbecue recently, and my partner said, and this Charlie gives these guys $20 a month to talk about aviation. And I didn't tell him it was $20 an episode, but anyway. And I thought, whoa, wait a minute. You guys do a 3-hour show once a week. That's a hell of a commitment. That's 12 hours of fantastic aviation repartee over a month, and I think that's a pretty good price to pay for the kind of fun that you guys have on the podcast, and I really enjoy it. So I don't have a problem at all contributing to the podcast. I did notice, though, logging into Patreon the other day, that you promise us patrons a few things. And when you get to the top tier, it's some sort of 1 hour personally with you every month, Jeff, that I haven't had. And I thought, well, I got a list here of instead of that, I got a list of some Polaroids or some 8x10s you can take of you and the crew. So for Dr. Nick Anderson, I would like him to wear nothing but a parachute harness, goggles and helmet in front of an Aztec. For Captain Steph, I'd like a picture of her in front of a Phantom. For Rick, I would like a picture of him push starting a Mad Dog. And where's the rest of my list? Oh, yeah, Captain Jeff. In lime green Speedos only, reclining over number 4 engine of a 747. Oh, I think I've read all of those wrong. Anyway, tailwinds. And Kavu to you. See you later. Flying Kiwis out.
Well,
I'm glad I wasn't on that list.
I think you did get a little confused about the airplanes that we fly, and I wrote it back
to see wearing what. Yeah.
I wrote it back and said, "Well, why is it that all the guys are wearing Speedos, but he didn't mention anything about Steph and what she would wear?"
I got the impression that Steph was supposed to be in the parachute harness.
Ah, okay. I think you're right, actually.
You see, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I'm
I thought
sure.
of it a little bit more.
And I'm allowed to keep my clothes on and stand in front of a Phantom.
Yeah, he didn't say anything about what to wear in front of the Phantom.
No.
No.
But,
I can choose whatever I want then.
Miami Rick, Miami Rick in a, what did he say? A bright lime green Speedo or something.
Yeah. Speedo. Definitely. I love it.
That's funny. And then
I
he
also
had.
think. Sorry, yeah, carry on, Jeff.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say that guy that said, you could have carried on because that's a known fault. I'm going, whoa, wait a minute. You've got 2 indicators that there's an alternator problem. One is obviously a warning light, and the other is the charging indicator. Mm-hmm. Now, one of them indicates badly. You can just assume that the indicator is fine, know that the alternator is fine. The guy did exactly the right thing.
Yeah.
Flying Q did exactly the right thing to take the aircraft back and put it on the ground, because who's to say that it wasn't the fault light that was in error?
Also out. Yeah, it could be, both things. No, I had the exact same thought, and I 100% agree with you, Lucas. You were absolutely correct. Put that plane back on the ground and find out what's wrong with it. For sure.
I was thinking just a blown light.
I would have given him a real mouthful.
Oh yeah, didn't you know that it was faulty to begin with? What? No. How are you supposed to know that?
How would I know that?
If it wasn't in the log, there's absolutely no way you're going to know that. So,
exactly.
And even if it was faulty, if then you only have one indicator working, and how do you know that one doesn't work either? So if you notice there's a problem, you can't be sure. So
yeah, there was a very big airplane that crashed in the Everglades, an L-1011 that crashed because a faulty light bulb. So what's not to say that he's flying along and that alternator light bulb isn't blown out? I mean, really, I mean, you land, there's no way that you can possibly know that problem's been occurring, because you don't fly that airplane on a regular basis. And the guy almost laughs him out of the office. Oh yeah, that's been happening all the time. Really? He did exactly the right thing. I'm with Captain Nick on that one. I think I would have chewed him up and spit him out like hamburger.
Yep. Yeah. As we used to say in the Airfiles, you'd Rembrandt him. You'd put him in the picture.
And finally,
oh, whoops! One last thing. It was really, really great to see what Miami Hick looked like. I think he's got an amazing voice. It really, really cheers me up. It's a funny voice. I kind of slip into impersonations of him around the office every now and again, and people look at me strangely because they don't know who he is and they don't know I'm actually impersonating someone. He did not look like I expected him to look like, which is probably a good thing. But keep up the good work, Miami Hick. Your stuff is really funny, and it does make me drive off the road too. Cheers, buddy. Bye.
Yeah, love it.
That's funny. I can just see Lucas walking around the office sounding like Miami Hick. And his co-workers thinking, this guy is crazy. Something's wrong with him. Yeah.
Lost it.
Well, that can be true because I mean, how many times you're flying along and you're listening to the control and you think, well, she sounds really hot.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? You imagine that you get this really hot girl on the other end of the radio, or pilot or whatever. I'm just talking as a guy. I mean, a girl may be saying the opposite. Well, that guy sounds really hot, but and then you meet the person in person. They don't look anything like what you expect them to, and that's standard.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yes. I'm looking for a appropriate sound effect to play, like. Okay, more. We have a lot of audio feedback on this show.
Love it.
Tim, yes? I'm sorry. I thought you were saying something.
Oh, sorry. I probably shouldn't have said that out loud. I just said I love it.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I just talking. It's more talking to myself. I'm sorry. I'll be quiet.
Okay. Here we go.
Hello, Captain Jeff, Amy, Rick, Dr. Steph, and Nick. This is Tim. I'm a crew scheduling supervisor with a regional airline here in the States. Let's call it Acme Express. On episode, I believe it was 253, I heard you guys talking about your company's fatigue policies. I was a little curious what Acme's full policy was. I know with our company, if a crew member calls into our scheduling department and just even uses the word that they are in any way fatigued, we pull them off their flying, get them 10 hours of rest, and then do whatever we can. Usually we just send them back to base, but they are able to call in rested again if they want to. I was curious what paperwork they have to do that they'd be so inclined to want to call in sick, opposed to utilizing the fatigue policy when they truly are fatigued. Because as you guys mentioned, that could actually be quite problematic. The whole point of the fatigue policy is so that when a crew member calls in, the safety department or whichever department at your airline it is can look at the situation that created that and work to avoid doing that. If you just call in sick instead of fatigued, the company has no idea of knowing that there is a problem there. They just go, oh, this person's sick, and they replace them and don't further analyze it. So I'm curious what paperwork they have to do. At our airline, we've got an online form you go on, fill it out. Our crew schedulers also have to fill out a little bit, although they don't have to go as in depth. They just have to go with what was on the call, where it happened, and all this. So the safety department has both sides of it to work from, so they can see what the schedule looked like and know what time the person called, what extension was on, so they can listen to the call and make sure that everything lines up. So I'm a little curious what else, if anything else, is required at Acme or any of the other carriers to call in fatigued, and what paperwork it is that is so intimidating that they don't want to deal with it. Have a good day.
Thanks, Tim. I'm sorry I gave the impression that it was the paperwork that was a problem. And actually, I've never had to call in fatigued. I've never filled out this paperwork. I've never experienced what may happen when you do. I've only heard stories from people that I've flown with who have said that they have gone through this whole process, and it's the follow-up phone calls, talking to the duty pilots, safety pilots, chief pilots, etc. And so again, I don't have that personal experience of calling in fatigued, but I can just tell you that based on anecdotal experiences from others, that it's quite a big deal with BIG in capitals. When you do this, we do have something at Acme called fitness for duty report. And let me read a little bit of this. If a pilot removes themselves, that's not very well written, from duty due to fatigued or fitness for duty, he or she must submit a fitness for duty report to the company within 48 hours, stating the circumstances that led to the pilot not being fit for duty and therefore unable to complete his or her flight duty period as scheduled. Once the fitness for duty report is submitted, it will be sent to the fatigue review board. If insufficient information was provided in the initial report, the pilot will be contacted by his chief pilot and provided an opportunity to add additional information. And apparently that's the part of it that I've heard from others is the big hassle. And then we also have something called a fatigue review board, which meets to review each report. Consists of 2 ALPA representatives and 2 company representatives. The flight review board will not consider cases where the pilot calls in unfit for reasons other than fatigued. So in other words, if they call in sick or for personal issues, they will not consider those cases. Filing what's the ASAP stand for again? Air Safety something report or ASR is also recommended if fatigue or fitness for duty is identified as a hazard or factor in the event. And anyway, and then I also included some information here in our notes for the crew regarding the flight review board, and it's quite a formal, detailed process that they go through, and I understand why. It is a safety of flight, or could be a safety of flight, or implications of that issue. And so they want to make sure that they, if it is something that they can avoid in the future, that they can. So we agree with you, Tim, regarding your concern about, people being reluctant to, call in sick call in unfit for duty and filling out those reports and such. But again, that's just information that I've heard from others, and that's what I was trying to relate in that earlier episode. Anybody else have any thoughts on this?
Yes, I mean, I can speak to it directly because I have actually called in fatigued, and there's a very big difference. I used to be a duty pilot. I don't know if you know that, Jeff. I used to be a duty pilot. Yeah, so realistically, the reason why somebody calls in sick versus fatigued is partly because of the paperwork, but more because they're always worried about getting paid. And if you called in fatigued, there was a chance that you wouldn't get paid because it went through the chief pilot on a review, right? So they could review it and say yes or no, or more than likely you would get paid. My example the other night, when I was flying on this last 4-day trip, I got into the hotel at quite literally at 2:00 in the morning, and I was woken up at a little after 5 in the morning with knocking, noise. I don't know whether it was somebody in the other room having fun, or whether somebody was, constructing, or whatever it was. It woke me up from a cold, dead sleep, and I never did go back to sleep. So technically speaking, by the time I got to the unfortunately, it was only 2 legs. So I was very tired. I never went back to sleep. So if you have to call in fatigued, the real reason that it's there is because of a real safety of flight issue. So why guys are calling sick or girls are calling sick is because they're worried about the pay issue. And it really is not a big deal. It's not, you call in if you're just not capable of flying, which is, when you're that tired, sometimes you even have that process of making that decision becomes a little fuzzy. I mean, there are a couple times that I should have called them fatigued, and I was right on the border, but at that point, before we flew the flight, I was fine. By the time we got to destination, there should have been no way I was flying that aircraft. So, and that's, if it really is relevant on the equipment that you're on, your seniority. If you're on reserve, a lot of times you end up working a lot more when you're junior at the airline versus or junior on the aircraft versus being senior, because you can hold better trips. And so, Jeff and I know I don't do as a rule 4 or 5 leg days and end up with weather, then that really goes to a 14-15 hour day. So that's really why people call in sick versus using the fatigue rules. And the fatigue rules are actually very easy. And the way that Acme has restructured it now, it really has taken the decision process out of the chief pilots and it's gone to a review board, so that when it comes time to look at it, they're really looking for not whether you call them fatigued or what, they're really looking for why, and is it legitimate, and should we pay this person for it? And more than likely, I can assure you, in our case at Acme, more than likely, unless it's a BS call, they're going to get compensated for the time, because it is a true safety of flight issue.
Yeah, that's interesting that you mentioned the pay thing. I had not ever considered that. And in my discussions of this with others who have had the experience of calling in fatigued, nobody mentioned this part of it, but I think you're onto something there, Dana. In the text here of this agreement between the union and Acme, it says the Flight Review Board will decide by consensus to either maintain full pay or to adjust the pilot's pay during the next pay period. The decision will be based upon whether the pilot became unfit for duty due to fatigue because of circumstances beyond his or her control. So, in other words, if it was something that the pilot did to contribute to the fact that he or she was unfit, then the company may say, or actually this review board now may say, no, I don't think we're going to pay you for it then.
Yeah, if they find out that you got in and then went out and met up with friends and had a late night and an early start, they may say, well, that's the reason why you were fatigued, not because you went to your hotel and got your required rest. And not that, not to imply that anyone is that irresponsible, but that's the kind of stuff that they're looking out for to make sure that those abuses don't happen with the system.
Right.
Yeah, and the one time at Acme that I did call in sick, it was in Cleveland. It was at the old hotel right across the street from the basketball stadium, and that was the night that Cleveland, not this past, but the year previous, the night that Cleveland won their conference championship, and they were out in the streets partying all night long. And with earplugs, with turning on the fan in the hotel room, there was nothing that I did that mitigated, because those windows in that hotel were very thin, that mitigated that threat. And I just said, I don't care. I am fatigued. I'm not safe to fly an airplane. And so I called in sick. And I did not call in sick. I called in fatigued, knowing full well that, listen, this is something that's well beyond my control. I can document every bit of it. And it's really, it pay issue aside, it's really it doesn't matter whether it's your fault or not your fault. The onus is on the pilot to, every time we sign that piece of paper to say that we are fit for that flight, the onus is on the pilot to make sure that they are truly mentally, physically, and able to fly that airplane. And fatigue call is very important. And so what? You have to do a little extra paperwork. Yeah, what's the big deal? So it's always been a pay issue.
Okay, very good. So thanks, Tim, for submitting the feedback regarding that. And I have a better understanding of it now. Yes, Nick?
Sorry, I was trying to check there, but I had muted myself. I was just going to say the answer has made this quite a significant thing now for us, because of the legal ramifications. And it's actually it's a lot simpler just to call in sick, because you call in sick, they say, okay, let us know when you're better, you can get a good night's sleep, phone up the next morning and say, I'm better. Whereas if you call in fatigued, then you are stood down from duties following the notification, and if en route you're positioned back to base. And for en route notifications, if deemed appropriate, they may consider alternative mitigations included, but not extending to the rest, giving another rest period. But that's pretty severe. And when when crewing here that someone is called in fatigued, they say they are to remove them from the flight, where applicable, position them back to base. The remainder of their roster will be put on hold pending an investigation by flight safety and clearance by the flight's crew manager. So an awful lot of departments get involved when someone calls in, because I think of the ramifications of is this fatigue just because you had a bad night's sleep because the hotel's not good, or are we actually running a potentially unsafe roster for this pilot? So if you just call in sick, they go, oh, it's fine, let us know when you're feeling better. But you call in fatigued and all sorts of people get involved, and you have to fill out a flight crew awareness form, and obviously you get stood down, but so many other things happen. I think it's quite a deterrent. It's a lot simpler for guys just to call in sick.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's interesting, because that's very different from what it's like here in the States, and that's with direct involvement of me working with fatigue calls up in the operations control center. Obviously the schedulers are not very happy when that happens, because if it's a situation where a flight will likely cancel, they obviously want the flight to go, but they also lose the human factor of it. But beyond that, I mean, it used to be you just spoke to the chief pilot, they determined whether it was a legitimate sick call, fatigue out or not, and that was pretty much the end of it after you submitted your paperwork. That's completely different than what we do over here. I mean, even now, even with this review board, that's just really just pay. It's if you're fatigued, and they'll look at what the cause was, and they may document the data, but it just ends right there. That's quite different.
Yeah.
Well, I have a feeling we're not going to, stop talking about this in the future. But it's good that you brought it up, Tim. Hopefully that helped with your understanding as to why pilots are sometimes reluctant to do the fatigue call. Ross writes, question about auto thrust and flaps. So if you use auto thrust to help when landing, does the system take care of adjusting the flaps to slow the plane down too, or is that still a pilot action? And if you don't adjust the flaps in a timely manner, how does the auto thrust system cope with that? Who wants to take on that one?
Well, I can tell you how it happens on an Airbus.
Okay.
If Ross, if you've got all the auto thrust engaged and you are letting the aircraft maintain the appropriate speeds, what happens?
Uh-oh. Looks like we lost
Nick.
Uh-oh.
Nick.
Oh.
Nick.
Now I see two
Nicks.
Okay. Right then, Ross, I'll start again. On the Airbus, if you're starting an approach, the first thing you'll do is tell the aircraft you're going to make an approach, so you activate the approach phase. And if you leave the auto thrust in, at that point, the aircraft will decelerate to what we call green dot speed, which is minimum drag speed, and it's the sort of speed you go around a hold with, for example, or fly the pattern with. And without doing anything else, if you then call for the first flap setting, flap 1, and select it, the target speed for the aircraft will drop from green dot down to F speed, S speed, and the aircraft will decelerate down to the lowest safe speed with that flap setting automatically. If you put the next flap setting out, it'll do the same again. And in other words, the aircraft adjusts its speed to the minimum safe speed for that flap setting. And it will continue to do that when you get the final flap setting out. The aircraft will then decelerate down to VREF, the reference speed for landing, and it does that all by itself. So you just have to concentrate on making sure the aircraft's on the right flight path, and the auto thrust will do it for you. If you don't adjust the flaps in a timely manner, how does the auto thrust cope? Well, it's not actually trying to do anything clever. All it's doing is reducing speed to the flap setting that you have given the aircraft. So it has no idea where you are on the approach. If you're high and you haven't got enough flap out, that's your problem. Your auto thrust will keep you safe. It will keep you at the minimum speed that you're allowed to be at with that flap setting, but it won't do anything unexpected. So it's up to you to make sure you put the flaps out in a timely manner to get them all out in time to meet your stabilized approach criteria and make your operational landing. I hope that explains the airplane.
Just to be clear, Ross asked first, does the autothrust system actually take care of adjusting the flaps to slow the plane down too, or is that still a pilot action?
Yeah, well, that's obviously a pilot. Well, I say obviously. No, that's a pilot action. We put the flaps down, and then the autothrust will adjust your speed to the appropriate speed for that flap setting.
Right. So that's moving the flaps up or down is a pilot function completely. No automated system does that.
No.
Same thing with the landing gear. So
you don't have automatic gear, Jeff?
Well, I think we're just putting some of those on some of the new
I forgot the Mad Dog's fixed gear, isn't it?
Fixed gear.
Yeah.
That way you never have to remember to put it down.
You don't want to give them too many things to worry about, Nick.
Exactly.
There's a lot going on in that cockpit.
Oh, that's so funny. All right. Let's see. Nikki says, I live in hell. Helsinki, that is. It's Nikki here, a longtime APG listener. I believe I started listening to APG around episode 50, and during all these years, I've only sent feedback once or twice. This time around, I just had to react because it's not often that my home airport gets mentioned in the podcast. I believe the last time was when Captain Nick was complaining that he might have to come here and fly a couple of flights due to a proposed leasing arrangement between Acme Red and Finnair. I don't blame Captain Nick for not wanting to come here during winter. It can be cold and it will definitely be dark. For better, Nick, or worse, passengers, that leasing arrangement between Acme Red and Finnair never materialized. Instead, Finnair has been using Highfly and Iberia on routes to JFK and Miami. Some may wonder, what is Finnair's reason for leasing planes and crews from other carriers? To put it shortly, pilot shortage. Finnair is in a process of renewing its relatively young long-haul fleet of A330s, and as of now, one A340-300 with the bigger A350-900s. They've already got 7 of the A350s flying, but apparently they can't retrain the pilots fast enough as they still don't have their own A350 simulator. In addition, some of the pilots need to stay in the A330 category as Finnair has decided to keep some of them around for additional growth. For the European airplane enthusiasts, I may say that if you want to fly on an A350, Finnair is using them regularly on short-haul flights to London and Brussels. Anyway, to go back to episode 255, that flight number 666 has been around for years, and it gets regular media attention on slow news days. However, there's a chance that it will become history within a year due to Finnair changing flight numbers on some European routes. Interestingly, if one likes playing with airport codes, there exists some interesting nonstop flights to and from Helsinki, for example, to SIN, Singapore, and FUK, which is Fukuoka? How do you pronounce that? Fukuoka, Japan?
We're just going to
sounds great to me.
Yeah, I'm not going to pronounce the acronym or the code. Finally, referring to the previous discussions about flying in the winter conditions and de-icing, I want to just say that Helsinki Airport, together with Nordic neighbors Stockholm, Arlanda, and Oslo Airport, are experts in the field. There are many great videos about airport know-how in YouTube. I'll put a link of recent nice video of de-icing a Japan Airlines Dreamliner in the end of this message. Some of the listeners might find it interesting. It certainly gives a more realistic impression of the procedure than the one filmed in Turkey. Probably a little bit different. Thanks for the awesome podcast. The latest episode made me chuckle a number of times. Very entertaining. Favorable winds and safe flying. Nikki from Helsinki. And I will put the link to the YouTube video of the de-icing in Helsinki in November of last year in the show notes.
Just a quick aside, and I'm curious if you guys have noticed this, but mentioning that flight number 666 and its destination and just kind of it's a little funny or unusual. I flew on a flight from Orlando to Salt Lake City a couple weeks ago now, and the flight number was 801, which I found a little coincidental because that's also the main area code in Utah and Salt Lake City, or at least it was for a long time.
Oh.
So I was wondering if you guys ever notice if they do fun flight numbers for different destinations? But that really doesn't happen.
I don't know if they actually do it on purpose. Perhaps they do. I know that there have been times when I've flown to Philadelphia and the flight was 1776.
There you go.
So
seems more than a little coincidental.
Yeah, that's probably not coincidental.
Yeah. Okay. Just curious.
Yeah. And by the way, both Owen and Jeff in the chat room said Fukuoka. I think I got pretty close to that. Thank you very much. Our brain trust in the chat room trying to help us out. Sometimes we're beyond help, though.
I am today. It's about the 10th time I've dropped that.
Your fingers getting tired hitting the redial button.
Absolutely.
Sorry. Let's see. More audio feedback. This one from Steve.
Hey, Captain Jeff and APG crew. This is Captain Steve over at Acme Junior.
Captain Steve is the guy that sends in the How I Got Here little bits. What do you call those? Pieces? Okay.
I've got a subject that I wanted to bring up, mildly related to aviation. Not necessarily flying planes or anything like that, but something that we deal with on our overnights and in our travels through the world's airports and cities. It's a subject of personal security and awareness of our environment. Recently was introduced to a author, former Navy SEAL Clint Emerson. He's written several books on personal security, runs a company on personal security. I think it's called Escape the Wolf. I know that's the name of his book on international travel and personal security in that environment. And he's also written a couple books called 100 Deadly Skills, which go into certain things like that. And I found both books that I have of his to be very interesting, and listening to a lot of his talks on YouTube and on other podcasts. Yes, I do listen to other podcasts, although APG is still close to my heart. And listening to some of his other speeches and stuff like that, he talks about things that would be very beneficial to us as crew members traveling all over the world. And I've started to implement a few of the ideas and some of the techniques that he talks about while on overnights, and just increasing that awareness of our environment, keeping us a little bit more safe and keeping our crew members around us safe. Maybe it's something you guys can discuss. Have you guys gone through any sort of international training for these type of things? I know Captain Nick's flying all over the world to some places of less than safe environments. I know for the Mad Dog, it's mostly domestic, and I know what I fly is mostly domestic, but the mentality can be taken there as well. Maybe you guys could discuss that and see what we come up with, and check out his stuff and see if it's beneficial to you at all. Peace.
Thanks, Steve. And we'll put a link to the 100 Deadly Skills, an evening with Navy SEAL Clint Emerson. We'll have that in the show notes. And I would suppose, Captain Nick, that you must get some kind of training or information or special precautions for some of the dangerous places that you fly, like Atlanta.
Yeah, we have a team of ninjas on the airline, like Red, who teach us all their secret magic skills. So I can walk over a runway. In fact, I can land on a runway made of rice paper without creasing it.
Ooh.
And, I can pick up a huge, great big cauldron with dragons embossed on the side with my wrists. and I have to call him Grasshopper or something. No, I'm the Grasshopper. That's right. So yeah, we get all this. We get we get taught how to deflect machete blows with our 4 stripes, because you don't know they're armored. Our special stripes on the uniform.
I think that's something we're not supposed
Just
to
the captains?
talk
Oh, yeah, just the captains. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, that's why you get a lot of one-armed first officers. And poison darts. That's another one. We have special poison dart-proof collars on our shirts, so that's pretty good. And there's a whole bunch of these things that we get taught. How to hold your breath for an hour and a half, and the girls find that very useful. And this sort of thing. So yeah, what happens all the time? We get continual classes. If I can't long enough, yes.
Another example of how Acme Red is superior to just the regular Acme.
Absolutely.
So much more training than we get.
Yeah, apart from the pair of pearl-handled revolvers that I wear with my uniform to protect myself and the crew. Yeah,
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the armored beast that picks us up from the airport and drives us around. That one of those bulletproof things.
Well, thank you very much for your input, Captain Nick. That was a lot of interesting skills and training and tactics.
We get a little book to read. Not book. It's part of our ops manual. Is security concerns for places that we fly over, and if there is something happening there, then it is brought to our attention. But basically, it's the same as we get on the internet. If you go on the Foreign Office website and look for advice for travelers about visiting various countries, that's effectively it. Obviously, some of it's specific to airline crews, but the great majority is straight from whatever the government tell us is, or where it's safe to go and where it's not safe to go. That tends to be what we adhere to.
Yeah, I think most of it is common sense, but we all know people that don't have a lot of that. Like, having a layover in, let's say, Sao Paulo or Rio or whatever, and then going out for a run by yourself, you kind of look conspicuous. It's obvious that this is an American going out for a run. I don't. Do you guys? I go out places on layovers, and I go into a bar or a restaurant, and I can immediately pick out all the airline pilots in there. We have this just certain look about us. Not so much.
That's funny. I can go into the bars and pick out all the doctors.
Can you?
Yeah. Same thing.
Isn't that funny?
Oh yeah.
And I don't stick out as a pilot.
We can smell our own. Right.
I can always pick out a pilot, but nobody ever picks me for a pilot because I don't fit the profile.
Yeah, that's true. But there is a certain look that, or just maybe not necessarily even a look, but certain behaviors that I notice. Of course, usually it's a dead giveaway that when there are a couple of guys together and no girls with them, it's most likely because they're pilots on a layover.
Yeah, then you look at the age difference too. I mean, that's a dead giveaway.
Father and son team.
Yeah, looking that way.
Yeah.
All I have to do is listen in for a few seconds, because if you get a group of doctors together, invariably the conversation will turn to medical stuff almost immediately. It's like we can't help it or avoid it. Is it the same? I imagine it's similar for.
Yeah, we talk shop too.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, nowadays
in the States, the thing is to wear a baseball cap, a plaid shirt, or a Texas T-shirt tucked into your jeans, which are clinched up with a big belt, and then a pair of white trainers, and you look just like a local.
Right, just like the local.
Absolutely.
You blend right in.
Yep.
Anyway, so that's interesting. Thank you, Steve. Looking forward to the next installment of your HIGH or HIGH, How I Got Here recordings. By the way, we were discussing this, I think last week, or somewhere I was discussing this with someone. I just don't remember exactly the details, but those interviews that Steve does, I think with the exception of the first one, which I think he was kind of talking about himself, but all those others are co-pilots that he has flown with, and so they're all different people, different personalities. But I think there was an impression from some that it was the same person every time, but it's not.
Oh no, I thought it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always something different, right?
So I just want to make sure everybody understood that. Let's see, Cindy, Cindee, Cindy writes. She's from Queens. When I read your website about your life as an airline pilot, I found this very awesome. Well, thanks. Have you seen the TV series Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the movie Sully? Yes and yes. May I ask you politely what is meant by the term brace for impact? And basically, that just means you get into a position in your seat that will, protect you as best as possible for the aircraft jostling around violently. And I guess that depends on the airplane you're in. I think in general, don't you just normally like lean over and put your arms over your head or something?
It does depend, but if you're on a commercial aircraft, if you pull out that handy pamphlet in the back of the seat in front of you in the pocket there, it usually has several different suggestions for a brace position, and some of it depends on your particular size, which seat you might be seated in. So if you're, at a bulkhead seat or near the overwing exit, there might be different spacing in between whatever is in front of you, and there will be different suggestions for the best brace position for.
Hey, Steph, I think you're probably the first person I've ever known that actually opens that up and looks at it.
I do. Pointedly
too.
Every trip.
Yeah. Just to kind of familiarize myself with the exits and everything.
Well, the person next to me is asleep, so I've got to know how to do something if something's going on.
Yeah. I had to
encourage everybody else.
I had to make a joke of it. I actually, when the flight attendants are doing it, and especially if I'm in uniform, I'll pull the card out and I'll read it very intently as they're going through their presentation.
Nodding, and following along with your fingers.
I'm following.
Yeah, and like showing other people that are around you, like, see here, right here, this is what they're talking about.
And so they just sat cracking up.
Well, I think the last time I did it, the person next to me actually was watching what I was doing. I think it was making them a little uncomfortable.
No one actually says brace for impact, though, do they?
I don't know. I've never said it, thankfully.
Well, he said something similar.
Brace. It's not brace for impact.
Well,
heads down. I think they call it heads down, stay low, heads down, or something like that.
Our girls, as soon as they hear the brace call, which is for us is 20 seconds for them that we're going to land, they say head down, feet back, head down, feet back. That's all they say. Stay down, head down, feet back. And,
I've always heard stick your head between your legs and kiss your goodbye.
Well, that's because you're in a mad dog, Jeff.
And I'm very proud to be. Thank you very much. Robert writes, hello, crew. Sorry if my prior feedback on my ICN, that's what is that again?
Incheon.
Yeah.
Delta 747 was a bit awkward. I included a link to reference photos and a couple of videos at the bottom of the email that may have been better to include at the top. So I'll do that this time. So he put that right at the top, and we'll put that link to a flyertalk.com forum. I've not experienced what some of the folks in this forum mentioned, but it seems to be a bit of an overreaction that every electronic device should be turned off or threaten a diversion. So thought I would ask you guys what you thought of this story. Also, it seems that a Cat 3 rating is aircraft specific, correct? And possibly not every aircraft has this capability. If you could give a few details on what this entails. Now, this would be a perfect one for Miami Rick, but he's not here to go through all the different categories of ILS approaches, etc., which is probably a good thing because we'd be here for a while. But Category 3 instrument landing system is the lowest visibility minimum that you can go down to on a modern aircraft. And yes, the aircraft does have to be equipped to fly a Category 3 ILS approach, and so does the air crew. everybody on the crew has to be current and completely trained on the procedures of a Category 3 approach. And the link that he sent, I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at this discussion in the Flyer Talk forum, but someone was basically saying, I was on this flight and the captain came on and said that everybody had to turn off their electronic devices before they commenced the approach. And basically the guy's question was, really? I mean, does this really have an effect on the instrument landing system, or is this just out of an abundance of caution, or what? And I think I'm correct to say that there are some airlines out there that actually do have a policy that requires that announcement to be made when visibility is below a certain level and they're having to fly certain types of approaches. But correct me if I'm wrong, Dana, I think our airline does not have this this particular policy that requires everybody to completely turn off their devices before executing a Category 3 instrument approach. But there may be some out there that do that, but I don't think that there's anything in our manual that says that we're required to have everybody do that.
It's actually quite the opposite. They let you use your electronic devices all the way through landing. Now you can watch your personal movies. And I just saw actually the American Airlines, I think it is, the new 737 Neos. They're not even going to be equipping them with seatback screens anymore, because they're going to allow the passengers to stream free internet and use their own personal devices to watch free movies that they're going to be providing. So that's even more so leading towards that passengers are using their own devices right on through landing, right up to the gate from the time they get on the aircraft, right up through landing and taxiing in.
I think that for those of you who are new to this podcast, and at the very beginning I say electronic devices powered on, I've been saying that for I don't know how many years now, and this is before they allowed personal electronic devices to be used on board airplanes. And it's been my contention all along that these devices don't have any effect whatsoever. And in fact, I've performed several real Category 3 approaches in the airplane that I fly, and have never had any issues with people using their personal electronic devices. So,
and next thing you know, you hear your text message go off after you land because you accidentally left your phone on.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps even in the cockpit there are probably devices on, not intentionally, but I'm sure it happens, as you just related.
Do you never get that noise through your loudspeakers, Jeff, as your mobile phone hunts for a signal?
No, if it's that's most modern phones that have LTE, you don't hear that tone anymore. That's the older GSM searching. I forgot what the actual.
Yeah, but I mean, that's an example of how a mobile phone can react with aircraft systems. Now, it might be just the audio system.
That's all it's doing, is interacting with the speaker itself.
Yeah, if it's generating enough electrical impulse inside the speaker to generate a noise, which is a considerable micro voltage, then what's to say it isn't doing the same in some other piece of electrical equipment?
Well, you know, my feeling about that, it's all a bunch of hogwash. And
yeah, I do. But I mean, my feeling is that it ain't only take one aircraft to go in, and everything will change. Whilst they can't prove that it has an effect, they also can't prove that it hasn't. And there have been a number of incidents where problems with aircraft have been put down to mobile phones. And being a bit of a radio amateur, of course, I have a certain amount of interest in the physics of radio waves and how they're propagated and how they're received, and how you can get interference induced in other systems that have no relation at all to do with the transmitter, and that you're blasting waves, and the fact that you might have 300 or 400 of them in an aircraft. All I'm going to say is when you're doing a Cat 3 approach, And it could be a Cat 3B approach where you're relying entirely on the ILS signal to be correctly perceived by those little aerials that are sitting only a few feet underneath all those passengers. I personally think it's a good and safe precaution to turn all the bloody things off just for those few approaches when you're doing Cat 3.
Okay. I don't agree. But
doesn't actually hurt anybody. Turn them off, does it? I mean, is it really?
I'm just reading some of the commentary in the chat room, and from Captain Al, he said EASA require electronic devices off for LVP approaches, and then the other Captain Jeff says he thought it was an FAA requirement to turn off all electronic devices for LVP takeoff and landing.
I don't think so, because
I don't think so either. I agree.
Set of it in our at our company, and I'm pretty sure we abide by the FAA requirements.
Well, maybe we'll do some research and find out.
Yeah,
but I can
Hey, Captain Nick, we agreed to disagree.
Yeah. That's fine. That's fine.
That's a great thing.
I'll tell you
I
what.
can't see the runway. I'm relying entirely on that automatic system, which is based on a radio wave that coming out in front of me to be perceived by my aerials and guide me onto that damn piece of tarmac, which is not very big. I'd prefer to have every precaution possible taken. So they protect the ILS landing system from aircraft, because we know that a big piece of metal will deflect the beams. The least you can do is give your aerials a chance to get a nice strong signal without having RF swamping that can occur when you have a lot of other transmitters.
Yeah, but I have a question. The question I have is, do you think if you really make a PA, if everybody in the aircraft's really going to turn off all those pieces of equipment?
Yeah,
well, I don't know, but unless you go you take, it's much better than saying, "Oh, you just feel free, turn them all on. We don't care." It's much better to take the precaution of trying to get some of them turned off.
Well, I'll tell you, we have thousands of flights a day and several low visibility approaches every day at our company, and we don't have that policy. And as far as I know, we haven't lost any airplanes due to it. But I was going to say the same thing as Dana. Thank you. I was going to say the same thing as Dana, that this is what most people think turning off your phone is. Here you go. You see my phone's on, and now it's off. No, it's not off. I just blanked the screen out, but I didn't turn it off. And unless you go to every single passenger and go through every single bag that everybody has, there's absolutely no way that every single device is off in that airplane.
Well, they're still supposed to be on airplane mode, so they're not supposed to be
not,
transmitting.
They're not even in the airplane mode.
I understand.
I guarantee there are dozens of devices not in airplane mode on every single flight that we fly.
Well, and that's another point, is that in the airplane mode, everybody thinks that the device is off. It's not providing any interference, and that's actually not true.
Right.
Even in the airplane mode, it's still providing. It's still electronic.
Still has electronic.
Yeah.
Signal.
I just still say it's all poppycock, hogwash. And I know that many of you disagree with me, including Nev from NevTech, but yeah, I'd still hold my.
All right. Well, I'm gonna do some. I'll do some homework for the next episode and see if I can find out what the official rules are here in the U.S.
Yeah, please do. It'd be interesting to find out.
And note for myself, because I'll forget.
Let's see. We talked about. Well, okay. One of the things that is a perk or benefit of becoming part of the Coffee Fund cadre, or becoming financial supporters of the show, is the occasional crew log that we put out. Captain Nick does them quite often, and I do as well. Not as often as Nick. And Captain Nick did one on his recent visit to Atlanta, and ATPL student Fabian from Germany was had a question about something that Captain Nick talked about in one of his recent crew logs. He recorded one talking through the flight plan for the return leg, which included some weather in Heathrow and also Cardiff and Prestwick as alternates. I really enjoyed how you talked us through the flight plan, but I have a question. Assuming you burned the 45-minute extra holding fuel your company advised you, did an approach at Heathrow come down to the decision minima and, let's see, let me say this again. Did an approach at LHR Heathrow came down to the decision minima and saw nothing but fog. You shot the missed approach and are now committed to fly to an alternate. Please talk us through. I guess if weather was better and your alternate was Gatwick, you would get radar vectors since it's so close. But going to Cardiff or Prestwick, which is further away, you have to gain some cruising altitude. You need your waypoints, etc. Is the flight from the destination to the alternate already planned with all of its waypoints, and you just punch it into the FMS, or is it already there? You would need a clearance, but you don't have time to hold while you work out one. Do you get a direct? I'm curious about what's planned before, what you do after the go around, and when you're committed to divert.
That's a good question, Fabian. There's an awful lot in there. First of all, if you're spending 45 minutes in the hold, and there is a chance that you may end up diverting from the approach, excuse me, you're not going to sit there and do nothing for 45 minutes. So the chances are you'll have both be looking at the weathers of airfields around you. We had fuel for Prestwick, which is quite a long way away. It's about an hour's flying time. But there might be closer airfields that, although they weren't forecast when we put that fuel on at the beginning of the flight, may now have improved weather. So if there was a closer airfield that would give me more safety fuel, then I would probably consider using that, so long as their weather was okay. So it might even be Gatwick that's just down the road. But as it turned out, of course, Gatwick was pretty lousy. So you don't necessarily have to go to your furthest diversion, even though you've got fuel for it. You can pick a closer one. And if you had made a plan between the two of you, all right, we don't get around from this approach, we will go to, let's say, East Midland, somewhere in between, then you could sit and use some of that time to type in a route. But that may, of course, not be the route you're going to be cleared on. In fact, it's quite likely it won't be. In the UK, we get an awful lot of radar vectoring. So if you went round and said, okay, we're doing a diversion now to Midlands, air traffic would give you radar vectors usually and a climb, and you'll probably get radar control from Heathrow to East Midland. They may give you a few direct waypoints, and as you approach them, they may give you an arrival procedure which you just pluck out the box and put in. So there's a certain amount you might be able to put into your secondary flight plan or into your diversion flight plan that you could activate and use. The chance of you guessing exactly what you're going to be given is remote. So it may not be worth it. You may not even guess the right approach. But it's very quick to put this stuff into the FMS, and you don't really have much of a problem feeding it in as you get given the instructions. You would need a clearance, of course. You say tell air traffic, but they're used to diverting people, and they know which direction to point you in and where to climb you to. You're going to have to decide on your cruise altitude, but that's probably been given to you in your paperwork. Going somewhere in the Midlands, you're probably going to climb up to about 20, 25,000, somewhere around there. And of course, you'd need a clearance. You don't have to hold while you work it out, because you pre-plan, you pre-think these things. Hopefully nothing comes as a surprise if you hadn't spent 45 minutes with your thumb up your backside and actually done a bit of work anticipating what might happen if you don't get in off your approach. So that's the basis of it. Quite honestly, traffic in the UK are extremely good at helping you out if you end up diverting.
Very good. Why am I hearing myself? Oh, I know why.
Oh, you've got a bit of an echo on.
Yeah, I do. Stand by.
Uh-oh.
Stand by for action.
There we go.
Ah.
I fifth it.
I quite like you with an echo.
Echo, echo, echo.
Echo.
All right, there we go. Thank you very much, Captain Nick, for answering Fabian's question. Hopefully that did it for you, sir. Let's see. Continuing on. Hell, this person is in the chat room right now, so let's play his feedback.
Okay, time to start the feedback. Yes, I'm back. The former FO Jeff is now Captain Jeff. Training is all complete. Operating experience is all done. Charm School, which is kind of unique to American, I guess, completed last week. So I'm now officially a captain at American Airlines. It was a fun experience. Made easy by the fact that I was just moving from the right seat to the left seat. That was probably the smart way to do it, as far as not having to learn an airplane while at the same time you're doing all the captain stuff. Just a quick aside, I've never flown an airplane in my entire life with the throttles were on the right side. Like Nick, Captain Nick, I flew single seat fighters my whole career in the Air Force, and I've never been a captain on anything else. So the first time I reached for the throttles, I got a handful of tiller. The first time I went to turn off the autopilot, I turned off the auto throttles. I kept on trying to get into the right seat in the simulator. I keep on trying to start the checklist. I can find anything in the cockpit with my left hand. The problem is my left hand is on the window side of the airplane now, and I can't find anything with my right hand. It's just comical. I keep on reaching for things and not knowing where they are, and been on the airplane for 3.5 years. And so, but I had a good co-pilot when I was going through training. He was coming off the Mad Dog. So getting him up to speed on some of the technology that especially the LNAV and the RNAV systems on the 7.3 were pretty challenging for him. But we got through it just fine. We both sailed through our check ride, and actually ran into him on like my second trip. We were both at the same layover hotel down in Miami, which was kind of interesting. I've already gotten to do a Cat 2 approach down to minimums in Dallas. Got to land in LaGuardia this past weekend with the nor'easter, with winds gusting from 25 to 45, pretty much right down the runway, but in pouring rain. That's always challenging there on that short runway, especially with all the things that have been going there in the past year, from the Delta Mad Dog going off the runway to the Mad Dog, not to the Eastern 737 sliding off the side, the Southwest Crunch landing a couple years ago. That place is always challenging just because of the density of the traffic in the area and on the ground. Some quick feedback things. You were talking about fatigue calls in one of your recent podcasts. I've actually done a couple of those. One of them, I had just finished a series of a long 3-day trip where every night landed pretty much at midnight, and got home at 3 o'clock in the morning the last day. I was on call, and they woke me up, not this next morning, but the morning after I got home at 4:30 in the morning to do a San Juan turn. And it was supposed to be an 8:40 in the morning departure. We didn't leave till almost noon. And about halfway to San Juan, I looked at the captain and goes, "Nope, this isn't going to work, boss. Sorry, but I'm not coming back." And I sent a message to dispatch basically saying FO was fatigued and not coming home. Got to San Juan about 2.5 hours later, and they actually had time to get an FO over from Miami to take my seat. I got back on the airplane, had a first-class seat. I asked the number 1 flight attendant to wake me up for lunch on the way home. And next thing I know, this lady's waking me up to have lunch. I didn't know we'd boarded the airplane. I didn't know we'd taken off. I was that tired. So I got a call from the chief pilot about that one, but it was no harm, no foul. There was no way I was flying that airplane. So fatigue is something we have to deal with as pilots. Part 117, the new rules are not really helping us. It may make Congress feel better that they changed the FAA requirements for crew rest for pilots, but as far as what we are now allowed to do versus what we used to do, we used to have an 8-hour limit during the day. Now it's 9 hours. We used to require twice the flying time off, a minimum of 12, maximum of 16. Now that's just a straight 10, which is interesting when you're talking about as far as some of us live from the airport. I mean, for Captain Jeff, you live relatively close. But for me, it can be anywhere from a 2 to a 4 hour drive home once I get to my car. And with the conditions at LaGuardia right now, with the parking lot situation, the traffic situation there, it could take an hour, hour and a half just to get to your car once you've gotten off the airplane. So it makes, and you only have 10 hours to get any kind of rest in. It's just not going to happen. And we've already had guys say, it's, they give you a trip with minimum time, and it's just not going to happen. I had a trip recently where we got into San Francisco almost 3 hours late, and we were only scheduled to have a 10.5-hour layover, which was now down to like 7. And as soon as I got off the airplane, my phone is ringing from the company going, when do you think you're going to be able to leave tomorrow? We think you can do it at 9:30 showtime. I says, probably not going to be till 10 o'clock in the morning. Let me get to the hotel and I'll tell you when I think it's really going to be. So in that regard, we have a little bit more say in that, but not a whole lot. So fatigue is something that, is becoming more and more of a factor, especially when you look at, especially at American, our average age is close to 60 years old right now as pilots. So we have a lot of older guys, whether they're co-pilots or captains, it really doesn't matter. And I don't do real well with the time shifts. I'm an early morning person like Jeff. I don't like being up really late at night. So you get me from a morning schedule to a night schedule, I'm not doing too good the next day. So I get up at 6 o'clock every morning without an alarm clock because I've been doing that since first grade. So making me sleep in or trying to make me to sleep in, I can go to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm still going to wake up at 6 and have trouble going back to sleep. So, but that's enough about fatigue. One other quick bite. You were talking about RNAV approaches. We live and die by those on the 737. Everything we do is LNAV, VNAV, RNAV approaches, RNAV arrivals, RNAV departures. We have RNP requirements, required navigation performance. We could do anything down to a 0.3 required navigation performance on the chart without any special procedures. Once it goes below 0.30, for example, the the RNP approach to 19 in Washington, D.C., which mirrors the river visual, has a requirement all the way down to 0.11. If we go that low, we have to have a forecast actual navigation performance from the company. It's called an ANP, actual navigation performance. And done that one for real, that low. The weather was pretty bad. And it's very easy to do. You don't have to worry about any nav aids to tune. You just have to have the valid GPS inputs and the forecast from the company to do that. We do a lot of them internationally, not so much in the States, but mostly just internationally, especially in the Caribbean. An interesting one is we do an RNAV arrival into Mexico City, and you intercept the ILS for either 5 left or 5 right in Mexico City. And the problem is when you're on the RNAV arrival, the turn to final, you're in LNAV using RNAV procedures, and it lines you up dead between the runways. And they're just far enough apart where if you hit approach mode to capture the localizer, you don't. You physically have to turn the airplane to get it to go over to the localizer. The other kind of approaches that we do are kind of an RNAV approach, but they're RNAV GPS approaches. There's no requirement for a RNP value with those. Not sure why. I don't understand the whole thing. Rick can probably figure it out. He knows pretty much everything about that stuff, and I can hear the crickets already. So hoping to see all of you at Pittsburgh. It's kind of a rough weekend for me. I'm actually only going to be about 25 miles away at Franciscan University that weekend. My son is graduating from college there. The baccalaureate service is Friday night. The graduation is Saturday, and Sunday is Mother's Day. So they didn't make this air show easy to get to for some of us. I will be following along on who's where when. I'd really like to meet everybody and see, especially Captain Jeff, Captain Nick, Miami Rick, and Steph again, because it's been since that memorable weekend, or in Captain Jeff's case, unmemorable weekend. I don't think he remembers much of it from last January in the 200th episode. Great time. So that's enough for me. Take care. God bless. See you soon. Bye.
Well, thank you, Captain Jeff. Getting caught in the rain. Now,
A strange desire for pina coladas now.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Gonna have to get one with lunch.
Well, you know what we're going to have to do? We're just going to have to all get together in a big bus and drive from Pittsburgh over to Franciscan University in Steubenville to see Captain Jeff.
There we go. Sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, we'll be thinking about you, man. And I do remember.
Yeah, but definitely hope we get to see him.
About 200 when we were in Dallas, Texas, right?
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
No,
that's not right.
No.
All right.
You know what about your first few flights as a captain that are often some of your most testing? I mean, I remember my first trip on the line as a captain was into JFK. Filthy night. We had to do a Canarsie into 13 left at 1,500 feet. We had 60 knots across, and it was hosing down with rain. And
too late.
Down. And I just think of myself, God, I hope it's not going to be like this all the time.
It does seem that when you first check out as captain that the worst weather and the strangest things happen or go wrong that you've never ever seen in your life. It's like,
yep.
What is, I hope this is not going to be the way it's going to be for the rest of my career.
Yep.
And it isn't, thankfully.
And then it's sheer boredom for the next 20 something years.
And you just make sure you fly with senior co-pilots that know what they're doing.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Anyway,
we don't all know what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, don't tell me that.
No, just pretend.
All right. Hey, it's time for this week's installment of Plane Tales. Take it away, Captain Nick.
The Old Pilot's Plane Tales. The Rosie and Bomba. The Second World War is over, and the victorious Allied powers have reached the Potsdam Agreement on the fate of post-war Europe. The defeated nation of Germany has been divided into 4 temporary occupation zones, largely decided by the final positions of the Allied armies, as has the capital city of Berlin, which is split into 4 sectors. Berlin, however, lies well within the Soviet occupation zone, and travel to and from the sectors back to the zones controlled by the United States, Great Britain, and France isn't easy. In a meeting held in June 1945, Stalin informs his German communist leaders that he will attempt to undermine the occupation of Berlin by Britain and the States so that they would be forced to withdraw from the city, leaving it entirely under Soviet control. Stalin's intent is strengthened by the lack of formal agreement guaranteeing road and rail access to the city, something that had been assumed by the Allies. Air travel routes had, however, been agreed, and 3 corridors existed. 2 ran from Hamburg and Buckeberg in the British zone, and 1 from Frankfurt in the American zone. In line with Stalin's attempts to force the Allies to leave Berlin, in 1946 the Soviets stopped delivering food from their zone to West Berlin, and only a single rail line was permitted to serve Berlin from the Allied zones, limited to just 10 trains a day. Even these were given many restrictions, with the Soviets delaying and searching them. Road links were also equally badly disrupted. Even the guaranteed air routes were affected, with transports being buzzed by Soviet aircraft until eventually a British Viking collided with a Yak-3 fighter, killing everyone on board both aircraft. Finally, in 1948, in retaliation to the introduction of a new German currency in the Western zones, the Soviets blockaded the land transport links to the city. The official communication said, We are warning both you and the population of Berlin that we shall apply economic and administrative sanctions that will lead to the circulation in Berlin exclusively of the currency of the Soviet occupation zone. Nobody was fooled as to the ultimate aim of the Eastern forces. In addition to cutting the road, rail and canal links, the electricity connections were also severed, since the generation plants were in the Soviet sector. Winter was coming, and the 2 million citizens of West Berlin who had survived the war now had only 36 days of food and 45 days of coal remaining. Although the Soviets offered free food to anyone who crossed into East Berlin, their offer was overwhelmingly rejected by the people of the city. The city was surrounded by 1.5 million Soviet troops, so the 22,500 Western troops couldn't be expected to resist an attack. The Soviet military administration celebrated what was sure to be a foregone conclusion, the handing over of West Berlin. Many options were considered by the Allies, from a ground invasion to the threat of nuclear war, but the unlikely plan to feed the city of Berlin from the air won the day. Famously, the commander of the USAF in Europe was asked if he could haul coal. "We," Lemay answered, "can haul anything." It was calculated that 1,500 tons of cargo would need to be shifted daily to supply the city's food needs, a mixture of milk, sugar, potatoes, meat, fat, cereal, and the like. An additional 3,500 tons of coal and fuel would be needed for heat and power. Initially, it was thought that the USAF, using C-47 Skytrains and Douglas DC-3s, could move about 300 tons a day, and the RAF with its DC-3s and Avro Yorks about 400 tons. Not nearly enough. The people of West Berlin were told that they would have to make sacrifices, but Mayor Reuter and his aide, Herr Willy Brandt, assured everyone that they would manage. The lift started off shakily, and only around 90 tons a day was moved in the first week. The second week saw 1,000 tons a day, but the East Germans ridiculed the effort, referring to it as a futile gesture to save face and maintain an untenable position in West Berlin. It was soon recognized that better organization was needed. Up stepped Major General William Tunner. Tunner had worked in the military air transport service, and he brought some well-needed organization. He flew to Berlin to see the lay of the land on a day when the weather was poor. A C-47 crashed and burned on the runway at Tempelhof. The aircraft behind burst its tires trying to avoid the wreckage, and a further transport ground-looped, mistakenly landing on a runway under construction. Aircraft were stacked high overhead the field, and it was obvious that the tower had lost control of the situation. As a result, Tunner instituted a number of rules. Instrument flight rules would be in effect at all times, and there would be a single control point for all aircraft. Aircraft would be timed to arrive only 3 minutes apart and would only have one chance of making an approach. There would be no second goes or stacking. Aircraft with sloping decks like the C-47 would be replaced with the tricycle-geared C-54s, as it was much quicker to unload the cargo. The pilots were banned from leaving their aircraft for any reason. Mobile snack bars came round, and the operations officers handed out departure clearances as the pilots ate. In this way, a 10-ton load could be taken off and the aircraft turned around in 30 minutes. The Berliners were also helping. Paid in the form of rations, the local people were willing workers who, at one point, set a record of unloading 10 tons of coal in 5 minutes and 45 seconds. After 2 months of operations, the airlift was providing 1,500 flights a day, delivering more than 4,500 tons of cargo. However, as winter approached, the needs of the city rose, with an additional 6,000 tons of coal needed a day. The British added their larger Handley Page Hastings to the fleets of aircraft, and with Tempelhof and Gatow at full capacity, the RAF began operating Sunderland flying boats into Lake Tegel. Gail Halvorsen was one of the American pilots who took part in the airlift. As he watched his cargo being unloaded, he could see the gratitude in the eyes of the German ground crew. Their leader came to the cockpit with tears on his cheeks and his hand thrust out in thanks. The people were hungry for food and freedom. Gratitude is the magic potion, Halvorsen said, that makes enemies into friends. Unloading near the aircraft fence, he wandered over to a group of children who had gathered there. Breaking up some chewing gum, he handed it around and promised that if they were well behaved, he would drop off some more. "How will we know you?" the children asked. "I'll wiggle my wings," he replied. That night, Halvorsen, his co-pilot and engineer, pulled their candy rations and tied up little parachutes made from handkerchiefs. On the next day, he dropped off the chocolate bars to the kids at the end of the runway, and the day after that, some more. Before long, there was a pile of mail at the base ops addressed to Uncle Wiggly Wings. When the story finally came out, his commanding officer was less than impressed, but when General Tunner heard of it, he saw an opportunity to improve the morale of the hard-pressed Berliners with a lifting story of generosity. So started Operation Little Victuals. Other pilots participated, and when the news reached the US, children all over the country sent in their own candy to help out. Soon the major manufacturers joined in, and in the end, over 23 tons of candy, attached to 250,000 little parachutes, were dropped to the children of Berlin. When Halvorsen returned to the States, the operation continued, with others taking over the commitment. Gale spent time traveling around America, thanking those who had helped for their generosity. In particular, he remembered one of his biggest supporters, a homebound lady called Dorothy Groger, who enlisted all of her friends and acquaintances to sew handkerchiefs and donate funds. Over the years, he met many Berliners who had received candy from the Rosian Bomber, as they called him. One, who was by then 60 years old, told how he had caught a Hershey bar. It took him a week to eat it, and he hid it day and night. But the chocolate wasn't the most important thing, he said. The most important thing was that someone in America knew I was in trouble, and someone cared. That meant hope. One could live on thin rations, but not without hope of freedom. Gale went on to have a successful career in the aviation industry and continued to carry out good works throughout his life. He received many humanitarian awards for his efforts, some of which were the Legion of Merit, Chesney Air Force Award, the Distinguished Humanitarian Award from the Institute of German Relations, the Eric Warburg Prize, and induction into the Utah Aviation Hall of Fame, the Grand Cross of the Order of Merit of the Federal Republic of Germany, Germany's highest award, and in 2014 he was awarded the Congressional Gold Medal. The Berlin airlift was a remarkable combination of tenacity, good command, and a fierce determination to help the beleaguered city. It had some troubled periods, such as when a long-lasting fog covered the city for weeks. All too often, aircraft would make the flight but be unable to land. On one day, out of 42 aircraft, only one made it in. The city was down to its last few days of coal when the weather cleared. Over the next month, however, 171,000 tons were delivered. Eventually, in April 1949, the Soviet news agency TASS reported that the blockade of the city was to be lifted. By May, the roads and railways were open, and an enormous crowd celebrated in West Berlin. The flights continued for a few weeks to build up a surplus, but then they were wound down. The airlift had lasted 15 months in total. The USAF, the RAF, and the Royal Australian Air Force, with pilots from America, the UK, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and South Africa, delivered a total of 2,326,406 tons of cargo. The distance they flew would almost reach the sun, and at its height, a plane landed at Berlin every 30 seconds. However, the operation had its share of tragedy. There were a total of 101 fatalities, with 17 American and 8 British aircraft being lost. The cost was shared between the USA, UK, and Germany, and was somewhere between $200 and $500 million at the time. The intangible benefits, though, of easing animosities between Germany and the Allied forces were enormous. Former enemies recognized their common interest, their shared values and mutual respect, which in some ways paved the way to the final and successful reunification of Germany.
Another fascinating installment of Plain Tales. Thank you, Captain Nick Anderson, which I guess he's having trouble staying connected to this hangout. So he's not there.
Yeah, it doesn't sound very promising.
Accolades.
Yeah, I don't see him at all.
Yeah, he keeps resetting his computer and not having much luck. I guess the bandwidth there at the Anderson household is not doing well today. Anyway, great story of the Berlin airlift and the Rosinen Bomber, or the Raisin Bomber. I don't know why they call them raisins, though. Candy. Wasn't it candy that they were dropping?
Maybe, yeah, it was candy, but maybe just something, a treat, something sweet.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think
I'm just thinking of the little boxes of raisins that we give out at like Halloween.
Oh, yeah. I guess maybe that was part of it. Jen says, if someone would like to fly over my house and drop candy, I'd be totally on board with that. Just saying.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, me too. I guess I should turn that screen off there. And why am I not on camera? Here we go. Hello.
There he is.
Let's see. How are we doing on the time here? Getting close to 3 hours. Looking through here, see if there's anything here that we just absolutely have to play. I know that Jen sent in some feedback, super urgent feedback, she said, but unfortunately, we may have to move that to the next show, Jen. I guess just quickly before we go, Tim Van Ram sent this in. He said some humor for the APG crew. And this is a graphic that he sent, and it's just basically text. Do you ever wake up, kiss the person sleeping beside you, and feel glad that you're alive? I just did, and apparently will not be allowed on this airline again. Oh, that's cute.
Even worse if it's your co-pilot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be
definitely be talking to the HR department then.
And let's see, also just quickly, Swedish Andreas said, just a quick feedback on the recently deceased astronaut Eugene Cernan. There is a great documentary on Netflix called The Last Man on the Moon. I can't provide a link as Netflix Nordic, Netflix Europe, Netflix US, etc. has different site links. But as the documentary is still up at the Nordic site, I would think all of the Netflixes has it as well. So again, that's The Last Man on the Moon, a documentary about Eugene Cernan, who just died, a couple weeks ago. So Thank you, Swedish Andreas, for that. And yeah, I think that'll do it for our show this week. Again, sorry for all the technical problems that we've had, we've experienced on this show. And I don't know.
The 3-hour show. I did about a 4.5-hour show today.
Yeah, we'll double your pay. It's okay. It's been approved by HR.
Yeah, there'll be something, a little something extra in your paycheck. If you want to learn more about the show, as always, head over to airlinepilotguy.com. And there you'll find information about the crew, the community, the coffee fund, merchandise, and much, much more. And let's see, also the apps available, information about those are on the website as well. But if you're on the iOS, you have an iPhone, just do a search in the App Store for Airline Pilot Guy. And the same thing on the Google Play Store if you have an Android device. And they're free, and you can set it up to receive push notifications, which I don't believe I did right before today's show, but I did put out at least one last night saying that we were going to attempt a recording this morning. And it's now afternoon, but we're trying. Let's see, social media. We're on the social medias. Maybe Steph can tell us about that.
On the interwebs, yeah. Social media, you can find us on Twitter. You can see all of us together there at APG Crew. Pinned tweet at the top has our individual information. If you head over to Facebook, www.facebook.com/Airline Pilot Guy. And if you're a fan of perpetual chat rooms, that's a separate app. It's called Slack, but you need to get in touch with APG community member Hillel on Twitter. He's at HI11E1, and he'll need your email address to get you all set up on the Slack.
Absolutely. And anything to say, Dana or Steph, before we finally end this thing?
Not a whole lot to say, but I think after all after the slow start and the technical difficulties, it was a great show as usual. So
I hope so.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. Even we had a rough start on a Sunday morning, and the computers were acting up. I think it was a great show in the end. At least I thoroughly enjoyed it as usual.
Yeah, and I hope everybody has a great week. I go out, picked up a turn up to LaGuardia and back for tomorrow morning, and then my regularly scheduled Tuesday through Thursday trip. This time I'll be in Kansas City all day on Wednesday. It's one of those 34-hour layovers. So I hope that everybody has a great week at work. And as always, wishing you clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care, and God bless.
Take care, y'all.
Bye-bye.
I guess Captain Nick never made it back.
No, I think he said he wasn't even going to try anymore.
Wow. Frustrating.
What a
very frustrating.
Colossal train wreck today. Man.
Nah.
We made it through, though.
Yeah.
Made it through.
So what's next weekend looking like for you guys? I know that Sunday afternoon and on is out for you, Nick. I mean, Dana.
Oh, I can assure you Sunday completely is out. And is a very good possibility I'm going to Houston.
Oh, really?
Ooh.
Okay. Then you'll be out for the entire weekend then. Okay.
Yes. If not, then Saturday availability for me would
be better.
Would be better.
Yeah.
Yeah, Saturday probably better.
Okay. Saturday's good for me.
I don't actually have no idea what I'm doing next weekend yet. So
okay.
I haven't planned that far in advance.
I mean, as far as the Houston deal goes for us, it's going to be, flight. I've got a hotel. I mean, I don't have a hotel. I have a car booked right now, which is only $150 for the whole weekend.
Nice.
I got a buddy that lives in Houston, so a free place to stay. The only real got you right now is I'm waiting to see. They've added a whole bunch of sections going to Houston over the weekend, but they're all wide open. So I have a funny feeling the company's going to pull those and consolidate back down to a fairly normal schedule. And if they do, then the chances of non-revving over there are going to be very slim. So.
Oh, I thought you were talking about extra sections in the stadium at the for the Super Bowl. You were talking about the flights. Okay,
the flights, yeah, and I might pick up a little green to be able to pay for the Super Bowl experience, but it's a once in a lifetime deal.
Exactly.
So we probably will make an effort, but we'll know by Friday.
Okay,
whether we're going to try. So
Very good.
Well, Saturday's better for Jennifer, so we've noted that.
Okay,
Thanks,
Jen.
Jennifer.
And we'll definitely play your audio feedback on next show, Jen.
Yes, good feedback.
And Liz, if you're listening, thank you. I saw that comment. Great having me back, so I appreciate that. Good to have Dana on again.
And Liz, when you first made that statement that you remember this when you were a kid, I'm thinking, I don't think you're that old. And thankfully, you're not. She said that this whole thing that Nick was talking about on Plain Tales actually happened 2 years before she was born. So,
PTUK might be on Sunday. We've kind of encouraged them that they need to broadcast from a pub for their 150th.
Oh, that's right. I heard them talking about that. Yeah. That should be interesting. Yeah, it's easy. No problems, Matt. It'll work like a charm. No technical issues to work through at all. Well, of course, they're used to doing on-location shoots.
As a reminder, Steph, right now, as of now, I'm still coming to Charlotte for Valentine's Day.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I have not forgotten.
Oh, they're going to go out on a little Valentine's date.
Yeah, we'll go.
Nice.
Both our significant others will be jealous.
Yeah, mine will be at work, probably.
Let's see. What am I
doing? That's a Tuesday, right?
Yeah, Tuesday night.
Tuesday. Okay.
I think.
Yeah, no, just let me know.
I will.
I'll be in Orlando. And Jeff, Captain Jeff mentioned to me that he is going to be around when I'm going to be in Philadelphia on the 21st of February next month. And so we're planning on getting together that late afternoon, early evening. And so if you're in the Philly area, plan on joining us somewhere. We'll pick a location somewhere close to my hotel downtown in Philadelphia. So would love to see any of you listening right now that want to join us in Philly. What else? Saturday night.
Nick says he's back on the phone. Doesn't think he'll get it resolved in time. No, you did not, because we finished.
Somebody needs to tell him it's over.
I will.
It's over.
Let's see. I guess Captain Rick Bell is going to be in Portland, and they're going to meet up with Micah. Just do the show from there. Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Sure. Yeah, we can all go up there. Excuse me.
Maybe not this time of the year, though.
Yeah, I know.
No.
Not a good time.
Cold up there.
No.
Yeah.
I'm complaining about the cold here.
All right. Well, I'm going to try to figure out
cold.
exactly what is going on with my machine and why this iMic device is not playing fairly today. That really bums me out. I had everything perfectly set up, all the screens, everything. And then it all went down the tubes. Oh, well. Is there a master plan for Pittsburgh yet? No. As in which gateway city it would be good to meet in?
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
That's the city you want to meet in.
What does he mean, gateway city?
I'm assuming that they need a flight to somewhere and then to Pittsburgh. Probably New York area or DC would be the logical choices. Boston.
Yeah. Someone was saying that one of those low-cost carriers out of Iceland or something like that.
Like WoW Air.
Wow. Has some really, really low fares. I mean, so much so that you just, wow. From some of our East Coast no, wait a minute. They couldn't do that. Maybe they go to Pittsburgh? I don't know. I think I was listening to Carlos talk about that on the pre or after show, I think, of their show. Not sure. But yeah, we're planning on staying in a hotel near the airport, and we're going to be hanging out at the air show on Saturday and Sunday. And let's see what else. Probably Saturday night at probably the hotel that we're staying in or somewhere nearby, kind of doing something similar to what we did at Farnborough as far as a big meetup and recording. And at the air show itself, we plan on having a tent and a table, and maybe we'll get a banner made up and kind of a place for everybody to hang out during the air show. Perhaps do some live recording while we're there at the air show as well, depending on if we have any internet at all. What else? So yeah, Pittsburgh's definitely go, and we're still working out some of the details with Captain Rick and others there at the airlift wing. What else? Anything else?
You look like you have something else to say or mention.
Me?
Man, it is windy outside again. What is going on here? It's just...
No, I can't think
cold
of anything
weather.
else.
I know. It's just all week.
I'm beat after all this. Go take a nap.
I'm ready,
full
I'm ready
day
for a
of
nap.
work.
Yeah, I'm ready for a nap.
When are you
Ready
going
for
out
a
this week,
beer.
Dana?
Wednesday.
Oh, nice.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Get a really nice, easy 3-day. Let me see. Where am I? Oh, yeah, Pensacola. I'm in Pensacola for 15 and a half hours. And then Cleveland for 16 hours. That one's not so nice, but I do like that downtown Cleveland overnight.
Yeah, that's a nice hotel.
Great restaurants, nice hotel. Go over to the casino if I want to and take some more money from them like I did last time.
I don't get anywhere near casinos. No
I try
desire.
not to either. But
that's a good location, good hotel in Cleveland. I like that layover actually.
Yes, now that we've moved, the old hotel was that old hotel. I didn't like it very much.
No, yeah, that wasn't Renaissance or whatever it was. No, that wasn't a Renaissance.
No, it was Wyndham, I think.
No, the name of it sounded nicer than the actual property. You kind of expected more, but anyway.
So yeah, no, that's what I've got going on, and then maybe Super Bowl this weekend. We're discussing it. Really, it's going to come down to the flights. If the flights continue to look really good, then we'll go. If they don't, then we won't, and then I'll worry about tickets. I mean,
I was going to say, how are you going to get tickets?
I'm sure you can get tickets. You just got to cough up enough cash for it.
Yeah, come up with a lot of cash. So right now, ticket prices are starting to come down a little bit. So, listen, I can't take it to the grave. I might as well enjoy it and have some fun with it.
Exactly.
There you go.
So,
well, I'll tell you what, I need to get some information from you, Dana. So don't go anywhere.
Okay.
We'll go ahead
I'll
and
stay.
stop the broadcast. And...
All right, I'm out of here. No, I'm just kidding.
What? What'd you say?
I said, all right, then I'm out of here. You guys have.
No, I didn't. No, that's not what
I'm kidding.
Oh, okay. So anyway, thanks everybody for sticking with us in the chat room. Do apologize for all the issues that we experienced today, but sometimes that's just what happens. So
you guys are troopers.
You guys are the best. We love you and hope to see you again during the week via the Twitters and such, and next weekend when we do episode 258. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a great week. Bye-bye.